tap the screen, share out the live.
It's a brand new day and she's back again. Get yourself a beverage, let's get settled in. It's Decon Q&A with CrystalJae. Hey, 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 all our favorite heathens.
I went a little bold.
All our questions answered, our favorite creators on display. It's Decon Q&A with CrystalJae.
Oh, kind of.
Get ready for the fun. Decon Q&A with CrystalJae.
You guys, welcome in, welcome in. So good, glad to see you all. Thank you for joining. Let me get the YouTubes started. And then we will get started. I've got some amazing guests for you today. I'm really excited. All right, let's welcome in YouTube. Make sure I can hear you. Hi, Tahir.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. A little hot here in Florida, but doing pretty good.
It's hot here
Yeah.
too. I got my little fan.
Oh, yeah. That's smart. Don't have one of those.
Yeah, I got it a while ago off the TikTok shop, and I had it next to my bed. And I loved it so much that I bought two more. I have one that sits here, and then I don't have the other one set up yet, but I'm going to have one on my phone so it doesn't overheat when we start getting in the triple digits. Because you can't hear it, can you? It's not loud, right?
No, it's not loud.
So that's the thing, like you want a fan, but a lot of times they're so loud, you can't have them on.
Right, that's my problem too.
So I thought if I got a little one, then it could keep me directly cooled off and then cool off my phone. So hopefully that'll work.
It's a good call.
Yeah.
Woo-wee.
So is Earth joining us?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Let me call real quick. I'm gonna jump down and then I'll be right back. Okay.
Hi, Laura. Hello, everybody. As you join, start sharing the live out. I need to get to 100 shares as quickly as possible. And also, make sure you like the live. But go up and send me a heart me if you can. And then collect your team points so that our team gets boosted out into the algorithm. Kiki, thank you for the compliment on my makeup. I went a little bold today. I was having fun. A long time ago, I bought a box full of Notorious Morbid eyeshadows. If you know Notorious Morbid, they are bold, they are pigmented, they are always glittery, and sometimes they're dark and stuff like that. And they always have fun names and stuff. But I hardly ever use them. So I thought, what the hell? I'm going to have some fun with my makeup today. People like G-Spot and Christina Carroll and Rita really inspire me. So I thought I'd have some fun. Thank you. Thank you so much, Laura. Hi, Hannah. How are you? I can talk. I really can. Welcome back.
Hey. Yeah, long time no see. Earth is on the way.
Okay, sounds good. Listen, you guys, don't forget to consider subscribing today. It is less than a cup of coffee a month. I bring you great creators like Tahir, and Earth is on her way, or Garnet, whichever you know her by. And I am bringing you allegedly in. I'm bringing you allegedly in right here on Decon Q&A with CrystalJae. Thanks to the amazing Sam who helped me out with that hookup. But I bring you so many good creators. So make sure you subscribe. It is less than a cup of coffee a month. You're subscribed to Netflix, Hulu, Paramount Plus, the Disney Channel, and a whole bunch of other channels that you never watch because you're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year because we see you because we're here too. So instead of supporting large corporations, why don't you cancel some of those subscriptions, save yourself some money, and support small creators like myself. Hi, Schley. Hi, Eli. Hello, everybody. What a great crowd. You guys, I will tell you something. I do not get pushed out at all ever until I reach 5,000 likes and 100 shares. And you got to do the little heart me's and go collect your team things. You have to do all the things. Otherwise, TikTok thinks nobody cares. Once you do that, I usually get 40 or 50 people who will come in, but we'll be at 9 or 10 until then, okay? So it's just weird. TikTok is weird lately. So how are you enjoying doing a podcast?
It's fun. It's been a lot of fun. I've had a lot of really good conversations, gotten to know some people that I already, maybe watched their content or already knew of them. I've gotten to know them a little bit more, a little bit better. So it's been a lot of fun.
It's really fun, like talking to and interviewing these people, huh?
It really is.
It's a fun side of the deconstruction community. I think that there's definitely a place for the debates and the discussions and stuff like that. But I think that there was a need for a place where we learn about each other and
I
not
agree.
just do that.
I agree.
I love it.
Yeah.
You guys,
I'm with you.
You have seen my shows, so you know how the format is. But for those who are just tuning in, I'm Crystal, and this is Decon Q&A with CrystalJae. My guests today are Tahir and Garnet, and they have an amazing new podcast that we're going to talk about. But the way we do it is I'm going to ask them some icebreaker questions to begin with. Then you guys can come up and ask them questions. If you're too shy to come up, you can ask questions in the chat, or if you're over on YouTube, I don't even know if people are over there. The sound has been horrible on my YouTube, and I have to spend a whole day to fix it, and I haven't had time to do it. So I don't know if it's fixed or not. But anyway, if you're on YouTube and you have a question, you can ask in the chat over there. I'll be happy to read it out to them as well. But we will go ahead and get started with the icebreaker questions. Let me pull those up for you while you guys do all the good things, tapping and sharing and all that. Sometimes my brain forgets how things like Gmail work. Just all of a sudden couldn't remember. What? Where's Gmail?
Well, you're put on the spot.
Okay. So I'm going to ask the question, and then you both can answer, and then I'll answer it as well. And we learn a little bit about each other through these.
Yeah.
When is the last time that you felt like you truly belonged?
Do you want to answer, Earth? I'll go ahead. So I would say probably this last, the beginning of the week when I went to that concert, went to see Kendrick Lamar and SZA with my siblings. It was just me, my two, I'm the oldest of six, so it's me and then my two after that, and then my brother brought his girlfriend, and it was just, you already have that feeling at a concert, that collective effervescence where you you feel kind of like everyone's on the same wavelength kind of thing. And it was looking around, seeing, everybody having fun, enjoying the same artists that I enjoy, looking over, seeing my siblings. I had that feeling of this is where I'm supposed to be. This is right. And it was kind of nice.
That's really cool. I love that. Garnet, say something because we didn't hear you earlier.
Now, is that any better?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay.
How are you?
I apologize for being late. We had some issues with storms with our electricity. Our Wi-Fi box went out. We finally got it running. So it's just been like a scramble to catch up with a bunch of stuff.
That's
But
okay.
yes, I would say so. There's been a couple of times where I walked away from an interaction and I was like, yeah, that more of that. That was good. I like that one. I like hanging out with folks. And the ones that stand out to me would be when I was on Joyful's Live the other day, and you were there, Crystal, and I talked about me recognizing myself as asexual and what that meant for me, and how that helped me. And then I would say another time is more recently. I've just been talking more with people in my community, and I've just been realizing the support that I have from people all over the country and across different tribal nations. And it just like, it's a cool feeling to recognize that distance doesn't always determine who you feel that bond with, who you feel that connection with. And yes, I value the connections of the people right around me, and I live with my family, and all of those things are great. But to know that the love isn't lost even when I'm hundreds of miles away, that that distance doesn't, it doesn't diminish the care that people express for me. And so I've been sitting with a lot of that. I've been sitting with that this week.
That's nice. That's nice. Um, you know, I know it's gonna sound corny and cheesy, but you guys always make me feel like I belong. And
Aw.
like recently, there was like a few little kerfuffles, shall we say, in the Discord. And because I'm the one who's on a lot handling the things and stuff, I do take a little bit of extra shit from people. And it's really nice having people like Tahir and Benny and stuff be like, nah, we got Crystal's back. Like,
Yeah.
no,
No, you're
So
right.
it does make me feel like I belong. When you guys do stuff like that, I'm like, yeah, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, okay, let's see. What is one thing you will never apologize for?
For me, very okay, so I'm very opinionated for sure, but I'm also the kind of person who's not afraid to like speak on something if I feel it. So like, I'll end up telling people things that they maybe not didn't want to hear, or I'm just very outspoken, and that's I'll never apologize for it.
I like that. And that's probably why we really get along too, is because I really
Yeah,
like that about you.
yeah, I agree with you. Mhm.
How about you, Garnet?
So there was, okay, a little bit of a story time. There was a time at a beach, I live in Florida, where I caught a woman in her 40s saying some really weird shit to a child, a bona fide child.
Hmm.
And she flew off the handle and was all defensive and da da da. And then she spun it on me, because she had 4 kids, and thank you for checking on children. And that she's like, she flipped out, and then she turned into flattery when she realized I wasn't going to go anywhere. And it took everything in me not to physically assault this person, and that I'm just being honest. And the way that they flipped it on me to make me feel guilty, like, how dare you approach a mother? I have 4 daughters and I would never, blah, 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 blah. And as someone who doesn't have kids, I always tend to kind of take a step back when it comes to parents and the expertise of parents. And, because I don't have my own kids, right? So I walked away from that interaction after it ended the way it did. And I was approached by a father who was there with his partner and children. And he said, I heard what that woman said to you, and I heard what she was saying to those boys. And he said she should have never said that stuff to those boys. And then he said, don't ever let anyone use being a parent against you. You keep speaking out
That's right.
about things like that. He said, don't let,
Love that.
I heard what she said. And so now I will never apologize holding predators accountable for their behavior.
Ah,
Thank you. I'm glad that you do that unapologetically.
mhm.
There's so many things that I will never apologize for because I think that with trauma in life, it can manifest in different ways, and a lot of times it manifests itself in a people-pleasing way for certain people because
Mhm.
that's how you defend yourself. If I please people all the time, then they can't possibly not like me or abuse me, because how could you do that if I'm doing everything you want, right? And so I think I spent a great deal of my life being that person. And I'm not her anymore. She's gone, and I'm not going to apologize. I'm not going to let you fuck with me anymore, my people anymore, whoever I love, whoever I care about, whoever those people are, my community. It's just not going to happen, and I'm not going to apologize for that anymore. So,
Good.
yeah, that's just me, and I don't care. It takes a lot for me to cut somebody out of my life. Like I do second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth chances because I do realize that people are flawed and I'm flawed. I really do realize that. But once I cut you out, there's no coming back. You're not coming back in.
Yeah.
I'm done.
No, I'm the same way. I definitely, I guess that's another thing that I don't apologize for is I'm very like firm on my boundaries. And, like, again, I understand having grace for people, but like once you cross that line or that boundary, I'm done with you. And I can hold a grudge like nobody's business. And, like people tell me all the time, like, oh, forgive, it's better for your, whatever. And it's like, no, I can move past what happened, but I'm not going to forgive you, because.
And also, sometimes it's not even about forgiveness. People throw that word around, right? Like, I have somebody in my life, I've cut them out. This person is not mentally well. I know this, okay? And I feel very, very bad about that. And I'm sorry that they have so much that they're going through with their mental health. But when your mental health problems cross my boundaries, I don't have to allow you to continue to do that. I can cut you out, still understand and empathize with what you're going through and who you are, not even be mad at you. But because of my mental health, I'm not going to allow you access anymore because, that's not healthy for me,
I agree. Yeah.
So,
We don't need to have toxic people in our life, no matter who they are to us.
that's right. That's right. Let's see. What is your favorite candy bar?
I'm not great at favorites, and I also don't super love candy. Like, I'm not one of those big chocolate types of people, but most of the time, I think I'll go for a Reese's peanut butter cup for sure.
I like Reese's. For me, it's going to be between Twix and almond Snickers.
Those are good.
Oh,
Those are good.
yeah.
I do love candy, but I don't eat sugar right now because I am trying to lose weight. So there's that. But and I'm just like you. I actually don't have favorites of things very much because I just like different things for different reasons. I think I've talked about this with colors before, but like it will depend on what I'm in a mood for. But
Exactly.
I don't think I could ever go wrong with an almond joy because I'm a coconut girly. So I'm gonna eat coconut and chocolate and almonds together.
Yeah, to each their own, but I am not a coconut girl at all. I
I
thought you were
like
gonna say,
coconut.
oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I just said I like coconut. Hmm.
Uh, I thought you were gonna say almond Hershey's bar, which those are like probably my two, is the Reese's or the
Mm.
Hershey's with almonds. That's what I thought you were gonna say. I was getting ready to agree, and then you took a left turn.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did.
Hmm.
Um, okay, if every person could make their own heaven, what would your heaven look like?
Do you want to go first on this one, Earth?
If I could create my own heaven, my heaven would
Processing.
be, I would say a vibrant planet, like green everywhere, trees everywhere, the water's clean. That would be my heaven, like a pristine earth. Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
I
actually
like.
going to say something very similar because mine would be like a rainforest. I picture like a waterfall, no bugs, just beautiful weather, beautiful scenery, walking trails, and all my loved ones,
That's
including the
cool.
pets. That'd be perfect.
Laura's would be a pool of mac and cheese.
Relatable. That's relatable.
Totally. I think that my heaven would just be very much like Earth. Only you could travel to other planets and shit that we've never seen
Mm.
before.
Hmm.
And the difference is that we would just know truth. So there wouldn't be a lot of arguing and bullshit about bullshit that, people would just know what truth is. Like it would just
Hmm.
be evident and there would be no bickering and no, my God's right. No, there is no God.
Hmm.
We all know the truth now. So we
Right.
don't fight about shit like that. But yeah, I think that it would be where you could have intergalactic space travel.
That'd
Because
be
I want to
cool.
see other planets. There's got to be other
Yeah.
cool planets, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I know there's like the ocean people who like to discover the ocean, and then there's your space people. I'm definitely a space person. If they were like taking
Yeah,
signups to like go on a space excursion, I'd sign up for sure. I think that'd be cool.
me too. I'm there. I'm there. Okay. What is your most prized material possession, no matter of the value or not?
Oh, Crystal, with these good questions. Material objects.
Yeah. Besides all of my like rocks, because I like different kinds of rocks. But besides those, I would say my phone. I really like my phone. I like the different kinds
Oh,
of
that's
things that it does. I mean, it's just a not just a, but it's a Samsung Galaxy phone. Not that it's necessarily a plug for Samsung, but what I like about my phone is that I can set different like work modes and study modes and relaxation modes, and I can silence apps. I can close down apps so I can limit my notifications so I can focus, or I can, have a creative focus. So yeah, I like my phone because I use it to aid myself doing things off of my phone. That's what I like.
I love
It's kind of
that.
a silly thing, but it's changed the way that I interact with my phone because now it's just a tool that helps me do what I want to do offline.
Mhm.
True.
I'm not even gonna lie, that was gonna be my answer. Straight up, I was gonna say my phone because that's my portal to talk to my loved ones. That's my music. That's my, pictures, memories so that I don't, I can look back on things and not forget things. That's how I learn. I mean, it's pretty much everything. So yeah, that was definitely gonna be my answer too.
God, now it's my answer too, y'all. I don't know what I was going to pick before.
Your
But
painting.
honestly, I know I was thinking about that, but I was like, the reality is, when there was fires encroaching on my house, I didn't grab that painting, but I sure the fuck grabbed my phone. I did
Fair
grab my
enough.
phone, you know.
Hmm.
So, hey, you guys, we have just under 5 minutes to get me my flash goal of just 5 heart me's. If you haven't sent a heart me yet, if you could do that, I'd really appreciate it. Right now, they're just 1 coin each. And then go up and grab your team points too after you do it. Yeah, I think it's going to be my phone for sure. What is the most ambitious endeavor you have ever set out on?
This podcast. The podcast that we have, I would say that's probably it, because I mean, I obviously going into it, I knew that it was going to be work, but I think I severely underestimated the how long the sessions would be, which, you know, I love the fact that we get to sit and have these extended conversations, but then, you know, the editing process, like you can sit down for 10 hours and not even touch an hour, you know, and like
Yep.
I know that there's probably ways to, you know, speed up the process, but I am a perfectionist, and also it just, like when I know, it's like a pride thing, you know, like I want to feel proud of what I'm putting out, and if I take my time and do a good job, then I know for sure I'll feel that. But yeah, no, I definitely, and then doing it weekly episodes, that's why, you know, ambitious as I was like, you know, let's do weeklies on Sundays and then Mondays. And then, so it's just like we aim for weekly episodes sometime between Sunday and Tuesday. But yeah, it was a very ambitious endeavor, and I love it. Labor of love for sure, for sure.
That's awesome. And I think that it's going to really grow into something. So, especially when you have that kind of attention to detail. I agree with Eli, and that's why it's going to be bigger than you could imagine. So,
Yeah.
what about you, Garnet?
Question was the endeavor, what the something endeavor? The
What's
biggest
the most ambitious?
Oh, ambitious. Okay. I would say for me would be jumping into my family's construction business in Florida. When I left 1855 treaty territory in Minnesota, came down to Florida, and when I left, I was growing food and soil and seeds and seed distribution and mutual aid stuff, and that was kind of my wheelhouse, was food, soil, and seed. And then I came down to Florida to help my mom through her health issues, and she got better. She's doing well. But then I realized, like, wait, this is an opportunity to grow with a family business and doing. And I never knew that I liked to do things like bookkeeping, and different administration tasks, and thinking about how to take this small service-based construction company and turn it into a company that is ready to take on government contracts, FEMA contracts, multi-million dollar municipality contracts, building hospitals, you know, this sort of thing. So I I took a pivot into housing, but now I'm realizing that my life is to merge that need of food and housing. So in 1855 treaty territory, I was working on food. Now down here, in Florida, I'm working on housing, and then I want to evolve into combining food and housing together, as like my life career pathway. So that's
I love
my
that.
ambition. Yes.
That's amazing. I'm very ambitious. I'm an ambitious person. It's not always the best for Doug because he has to put up with stuff sometimes. But we once had a video and photography event business, and then I was a reseller for many years, and I opened a warehouse. That was really ambitious. I really wish I would have stuck with my gut and really expressed louder, because I expressed it. Apparently it wasn't loud enough, that I did not want to do that business with family. And Doug just really wanted to. And they all abandoned me, and so that kind of sucked. But and that was ambitious. It was ambitious. But right now, I think I'm doing the most ambitious thing I've ever done before, and it's not the show. Although I thought this show was pretty ambitious too, and I'm pretty darn proud of the way that I get some pretty big names on my little show.
Yeah,
So,
you do.
but Doug and I are thinking about retirement. If you are Gen X, retirement's kind of tough. Retirement's kind of tough because it looks like they'll be taking away the Social Security that we worked our whole lives for. And even if we had that Social Security, it wasn't much to begin with.
Right.
And our parents, when they worked, their companies gave them a retirement. And a 401k is not the same thing our parents got. Our parents got retirement packages, man. They were amazing. And the 401ks have been horrible because Trump keeps screwing with the stock market, stuff like that, you know? So we're realizing we'll probably have to work in our golden years, and we need to do something that we can do, you know, that we like to do and that we can do as you age, right? So we want to get a campground and run a campground. I think it would be fun. And so we're looking at properties, we're looking at campgrounds, and we're hoping in the next year or two to invest in a campground and move on to the campground and retire there.
I love that.
That's our most ambitious thing. Yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And definitely, I can see myself in my 70s still checking people in. I think that I can handle that, you know?
I could see that too. That reminds me. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, they have like those campgrounds where they do like events. You know what I mean? Where like you come for an
Yeah,
extended amount of time. If you could do something like that for like a decon meetup, but
I
like,
would
and
love to.
that would be fun.
Yeah. I'm looking mostly in the West, you know, but I'm not opposed. Okay, I am opposed to red states, obviously. I just really don't want to be in a red state. I live in California right now, and if you don't know what's going on in California with Trump and my governor, you can, to me, this is showing how important it is to live in a state that protects you if your federal government isn't. Because Gavin Newsom, love him or hate him, he is fighting for us. And so I feel, I don't know how I would feel right now if I was in a red state and he was doing this shit, you know? So, so I'm looking in California, I'm looking in Colorado, Washington, Oregon. I'm even considering Arizona. I consider Arizona kind of purple right now with, with their politics. But we just, it might even start small. It might just be a little glamping site to begin with or something. We'd like to be able to have at least a home or a fifth wheeler on it that we live in on site. And my kids are like, a fifth wheel? You're going to live it. But have you seen them?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
what I can get for selling my house, like they're houses now. They are houses and stuff. So,
100%.
so yeah, I'm pretty, I don't know. I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be a
That's
lot of fun.
awesome. That's
That is
Yeah,
really
really
and
cool. I love that for you. And Doug, for you and Doug.
yeah, and he loves to fish, and he's he's a mechanical engineer, and he can fix anything because of that, you know. And so he can do all that kind of shit, and I can do all the customer service shit. So,
true. It's true.
and I know how to do social media. In case you guys didn't know, I know how to
Right.
do
There you
that.
go.
So,
I think you guys could do it.
okay. How do you balance the pursuit of personal goals with the needs of others?
Hmm. Well, for me personally, I just have to, be intentional about how I'm moving. Like I do have to plan, like, okay, so this out of this specific amount for this. Hold on a second. So, like I'll have specific times that's like designated to, whatever I'm doing. Like this day is book club, this day is, recording, like planning ahead and then trying to be intentional about, okay, so I'll spend this time, with the wifey or, like it's just intention, you can't
Yes.
live life, just doing. You have to be intentional if you want to make sure that you're not neglecting anything.
Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah,
What
that's
about you?
very similar. That's very similar for me too. It took me
Yeah,
a
I
long.
think. Oh, go ahead.
I think I'm on a little bit of a lag. Sorry, my weather's
That's
still kind
okay.
of wonky. But it did take me a long time to not make everyone's personal issues not make everyone else's personal needs my personal goals. So if you were to ask me 10 years ago, I'd just say, oh, well, that's easy. Just make my goals everyone else's needs and bada bing, bada boom. Problem solved. But that's not sustainable. And it's not, fun. I only enjoyed it to the extent that I thought that I needed to do those kinds of things, those kinds of people pleasing things. But mostly it's just recognizing um, how do I sort through, what is necessary, what is a need, what is a want, and then, yeah, just kind of holding the boundary lines.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I think that before I also did like that. I told my daughter yesterday, I hate when other people's problems become my problems, but I don't think I used to hate that. Like I used to, that was part of my personality. As a matter of fact, it took a long time for me to understand that sometimes Doug will say something, and that doesn't mean I need to get up and do something immediately because he said something. Like, he'll say, you know what, we should think about replacing the tires on the truck immediately. I'm looking for tires for the truck. And he's like, I didn't ask you to look for tires for the truck. And he did it. He literally did it. My brain just goes, okay, go look for tires. That's you. And now I'm starting to realize more and more like, uh, your problems aren't I don't have to take on your problems. If you need new tires for
Yeah,
the truck, you're gonna figure it out. You're just saying shit to me. You're just making freaking conversation, and I don't need to
yeah,
go make a task for myself. But
yeah,
for my personal goals, I think that doing everything with intention is important. I've been keeping a calendar. I've also talked about this a lot. I also use the app called Finch. If you don't know what that is,
Mm.
go check it out today. If you need a code, an invite code, just let me know. I'll send you one because I earn stuff if you download Finch. But anyway, Finch is a little like game type of thing to help you with your goals and stuff. But because of my ADHD and stuff, it really helps me because games help the ADHD mind, if you will. It tricks it into doing stuff. And so I use that a lot. And I use a calendar. And I also verbalize my goals to those who I am close to so that they understand what I'm doing, and that I have a purpose for what I'm doing. So they're not just like, why is mom suddenly obsessed with campgrounds and RVs? Why does she keep looking at and now they know why. Here's why. We want to buy a
Thank goodness.
campground. So, yeah, so I think that being verbal about them as well is very helpful for me anyway.
yeah, absolutely. I don't know, say what you will about manifestation, but at a minimum, it helps with intention, like you're putting out there what you want to do, and then it's helping you to move towards that goal, whatever that means, you know?
Yeah.
But I was going to say too, when you were talking about, your tendency to like, oh, let me fix this problem. That's one of the things because I'm very much not a people pleaser, but my wife is, and that's one of the things that I kind of that she needed to learn is like with me, if I'm complaining about something, I don't necessarily mean come fix the problem. I might just be
Right.
complaining, having a human moment. But for her, it's like, oh, I need to fix this. And I'm like, no, you don't have to fix everything, like sometimes just let me, complain and then do your
Yeah.
thing. But yeah.
Yeah, you got to learn those things. I would say that our early years of marriage would have gone a lot smoother had we both known that we had probably some part of we were on the spectrum a little bit, and that we were both
Mm,
had a little bit of depression and a little other things mixed up in there. Had we known that in our early years of our marriage, I think that we both would have been more compassionate, empathetic, and understood each other better. Now I can say things like, man, Dad is irritating me today because our tisms are not matching up.
hmm. Yeah.
If you both have it and they don't match at the same time, that can be a little friction there. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. 100%. For
Agreed.
sure.
Agreed.
um, what do you think is the true meaning of friendship?
Well, for me personally, I don't know if my idea of friendship is a little bit different than a lot of people's, or if it's just been my experience. But where, some people see friendship as like we're in communication all the time, 24/7, and we're texting, we're on the phone. Like that's one version, but my version is like if you need me, I'm there. Like in a heartbeat, I'm dropping everything and like when we get together, it's like no time has ever passed. And like when I do go, because I do try to like go on trips to see my friends and family, because none of them live in Florida. I do like I put the phone away. I'm very much present, and so like being present in our time together, especially if it's limited, um, like being engaging in quality time with people, I think is another thing for me. So like the really close friendships that I have are people who we may not text all the time, but when we see each other, it's we pick back up where we left things. So I guess that's kind of my idea of friendship.
I like that.
I like that too. Um, for me, it would be a lot of what Tahir is saying here, and also people who take the time to care about the same things that I do, especially when it comes to things like harm reduction and helping others and that kind of thing. I not that I'm necessarily looking for just clones of myself in everyone, but just having similar aligned values. And for me, friendship is really, okay, how do I explain this? I heard a quote that explained how interconnectedness works, and they likened it to bamboo shoots. When you get below the surface, all their roots are entangled with one another, but they grow independently. So it's like independent together. And yeah, like that's how I visualize friendship, like bamboo.
I like that.
Hmm. Yeah. And also too,
I
I think another important part of friendships, I'm so sorry, is
No,
like
go ahead.
meeting people where they're at, because everybody's battling something different and everybody gives love and receives love in different ways. And so you can't have like one across the board way of being, friends with people. Like you kind of have to see each person for who they are and okay, I know this person receives love by, acts of, whatever, or like, just kind of understanding that people receive love differently. And so you may think that you're, doing what you need to do to make this person feel loved and cared about, but if it's not how they receive love, then it's not necessarily hitting the way you think that it is. So that's also important.
That's true. That's very true. Um, for me, I think that friendship is a spectrum. I think that there are friends that I will have that I'll be very close with and probably talk to almost daily or whatever. And there are friends that I don't need to talk to very often, but we know that we're there for each other whenever or what have you. There are friends that get to know all my deepest, darkest secrets, and there are friends that I'm not ready for that yet, and stuff. But if you are in my inner circle, I ask that you know me and my character, because I'm going to learn you and your character, and I'm going to accept you and your character. And nothing bothers me more than when I have somebody in my life that I think is a friend, and that they say something about me that is just so out of my character. It immediately lets me know that they didn't ever get to know me, that they don't know me, and they didn't ever get to know me like I did them. And that's the quickest way to end my friendship, is to call me, like, it can, just to say something and say Crystal said this or whatever, and I'm like, anybody who knows me knows that would never cross my lips. So, like, you know what I'm saying? I want you to get to know me and my character, and if you do, you're gonna probably be in my inner circle. But because I am gonna do that for you, I'm going to learn your character, and so I don't know. That's it to me. I have very, very few close friends, and I really like it that way. I have very strong boundaries in my life, and I don't mind having acquaintances or people that I'm friendly with, but very few people in my inner circle, and I feel safer that way in life in general.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Quality over quantity. I keep my circle small because I've been burned before by having too many friends at one time. So
Yeah, exactly.
Would add quality over quantity, and I need a specific ratio of human to non-human friends. There's
Yes,
quotas here.
yes.
Yep.
I think though that I was kind of reflecting though as we've been talking because like there is the in-person friendships, but then there's also like this new age of technology, and as we all know, the friendships that you can make over like online, like in through our
Yeah.
Discord and like through the lives and that. I think that is I don't know if I have an answer to it, but how do we be good friends to our virtual friends? Like that's something worth thinking about. I know I'm going to reflect on it 'cause I really don't know what the answer is, but
I know. I remember one time, and this was probably at least a decade ago, when something happened to somebody I cared about, and I found out through Facebook. Um, he was a boss of mine who, I don't know if you guys heard this story, who sat down and told me a story about my own life one time.
yeah.
Okay. But I really liked him because he had given me a chance as a single mom who had never had management experience before. And he gave me that job knowing I could do it. And he trusted me. I didn't tell you that, like, during the interview, he asked me how to calculate food cost. And I was like, I don't know the formula, but if you tell me the formula, I will be able to do the formula, or whatever. And he was like, oh, so let me show you. And he taught me how to figure out food costs. He didn't let that stop me from getting the job or anything. And I just really appreciated him. So I went to see, like, how is Evie doing? And Evie had died. And I remember how sad I felt that day, but I also remember thinking, when I was growing up, people who you didn't see again, you didn't know that they died. You just got to imagine where their life went and what they were doing now. And And so you never had to mourn these people. And I really think that we need a new type of psychiatry that deals with the fact that sometimes the information we have now is like far more than we ever had when I was growing up.
That's true.
You didn't find out about your distant cousins and your, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't even know who the hell they were. Okay, now we're connected on family tree or whatever, and you get to see who are, but that means that there's a lot more loss and a lot more mourning, because now we do get to find out what happens to all these people and stuff. And I don't know, it just really made me sad that day, because I was thinking, in any other world, I would have never known, and I would have just gone on imagining that he went on to do great things. And sadly, he passed away so young. So I don't know. I do know that I check in on my internet friends, especially when I don't see them around for a few days. I made a post about it one day in the Discord, and you guys in chat or in the Discord or on different streams, people on panels, you go missing for a few days and you think nobody notices, but we do. We notice you're not here and we miss you. And we ask about you and we text each other, hey, have you seen? I still want to know where Low Steel is. So if any of you hear from Low Steel, let me know. I miss him. But you are missed when we don't see you. And so, check up on each other. If you don't see someone for a few days, go send them a DM and say, hey, I miss you. Are you okay? Everything good? Because sometimes it's not. It's not good. And it really helps them that somebody knew. Maybe you're the only person who's even going to say, you were missed today. And that can change something for somebody, Okay, now to get off the deep subject, here we go. Tomorrow, I'm going to teleport you to any beach in the world. You get to take a long, beautiful walk on the beach. You get to enjoy your day, eat what you want, do what you want. You're there with whoever you want. What beach are you at? And what are you going to do all day, and who are you with?
That's a toughie, because I am a beach girl. I love water. I love laying out in the sun. But I was, I love my northern Michigan beaches. They're definitely beautiful, that Lake Michigan. But I was floored when I went to Miami about like how beautiful the beach was. Like the sand was clean, the water was pretty. And then it has, usually pretty good beach weather too. So I would probably go down to Miami, hang out with the fam, eat good food, just relax. It's my favorite thing to
That sounds nice.
do.
I'm going to try and think of something similar, because I know we wanted to switch from the deep thing, but the only thing going through my head the first thing that went through my head when you asked the question, and then the only thing that keeps going through my head as I'm listening to Tahir, is something along the lines with, okay, so I can be with anyone on any beach doing anything. So I have an entire crew of paramilitary troopers, and we are disrupting Israeli ships at the summer.
Yeah.
Yep, I'll send you pictures to here.
Okay,
Get it
sounds
on your
good.
phone.
Yeah, there you go. Dang, that was a good answer.
Yes. That was a good answer.
Mhm.
Well, selfishly, I'm not going to be doing that, because you've got that handled. You don't need my help now.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm going to Greece. I'm going to go to Greece.
Oh.
I have always wanted to go to Greece. It is like I've never been abroad anywhere. The only country I've been to besides the United States is Mexico. Beautiful country, by the way. But I've always wanted to see Greece. When I was a young mom, there was a girl in my church, and her dad was a doctor, and every year they went to Greece, and she said, because they went many places all over Europe and stuff, and I'm sorry, you guys, hang on. I don't know why. You guys, could you start tapping the screen? Send heart me's, do some stuff, because TikTok thinks that I'm not even here right now. So we need to show them I'm here. Any commenting, anything you do to show them action is going to make them, I don't know. Like, how do you think I'm not here? Like, I'm literally moving TikTok. What on earth, you know? But I guess it helps. So anyway, she said that out of all the places she went, Greece was the most beautiful country she had ever been to. And I don't know if that's true, but she said it. So after that, I went and started looking at pictures, and it is just so beautiful. And the people are just like amazing. And the food, get the fuck out of here with that food. Are you kidding me? Oh my God. And I don't know, the music, it looks like such a beautiful place, and I don't know, the people seem loving and cool and stuff. So I don't know, I just want to go to Greece. And then I'll storm the beaches with Garden after that.
Here's what you can do. You can bring some food over to Gaza. When it's all cleared out, come over, hang out, bring some good food, tell some stories, share the pictures.
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it. We'll
Okay.
do it. All right, you guys, that is the end of the icebreaker questions. If you have questions for Garnet and Tahir, either or, doesn't matter. Come on up, ask your questions. If you're too shy to come up, ask your questions in the comments. I'll go ahead and read them out to you. I'm sorry, I screwed up YouTube again somehow, so I don't think anybody's over there. And I do post the videos when we're done to the YouTube anyway, okay? And as soon as I get a new computer, we won't have this problem anymore. So if you want to know what happens when you support my channel, that money goes right back into the channel by me being able to upgrade my equipment like my computer. So all your gifts, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, they all help with supporting the channel. So you guys, let's start talking a little bit about your podcast while we wait for people to join us. Don't forget, you guys, the guest box is open. Okay, first of all, how did you two meet?
That'd be the Deconstruction Junction. When I had the idea for the podcast, I was trying to figure out like the resource element, because I wanted to have resources to provide people. And I wanted again to be intentional about, taking care with what we're talking about and who I'm talking to. And I was looking in our resources, and I found the Earth Sanctuary corner, and there was a lot of Earth had a lot of really good like suggestions of people to like look at their content, that kind of thing. And so I commented, and I was like, hey, if you know of anybody who might be interested in joining this idea in some capacity. I kind of gave a brief overview, and Earth was like, yeah, I'd be willing to have a conversation with you about it. And so we, started a DM, and, once I kind of laid out the vision for the podcast, and Earth, kind of gave some insight about like what their capacity was, of like involvement, what day that looked like. And it was just a really good conversation, and I was like, yes, I think this is going to work. This is exactly what I'm looking for. And yeah, so far so good.
That's cool.
It was really cool to read about, because I just randomly got a message. So I went to the Discord, and I was like, oh, like someone's commenting on my mental health resources. And it was just like, hey, you want to do something else? I was like, oh yeah, sure, let's check it out. We started talking, and it turned out to be a really awesome spot, because I could bring those resources there also. And it was really nice to find a space where we could focus on the deconstruction part and the reconstruction part, and then there was always that, I always had the sense that Tahir wanted to empower people toward that healing, and leaning on the experts, leaning on, resources that we can trust, leaning on like tried and true methods for self-regulation and calming the nervous system and recognizing trauma, identifying trauma, unpacking it, and sort of recalibrating yourself. Bringing those healing modalities was always like on the forefront for Tahir. And so that's why I really appreciated that it wasn't just an extraction, like, let's get the latest thing and put it out there and go viral. It was always ever about wanting to bring healing and allowing the storytelling process to be cathartic. And so I always try and follow up with just a couple of resources in the description. So as you guys listen to each episode, just filter through the description and you'll find different resources that kind of relate to some of the themes that you'll hear throughout the podcast. And I try and find kind of matching insights from experts on trauma and recovery and neurobiology that will provide some more immediate tools for people to kind of regulate themselves and continue that reconstruction process.
I love that. So how did you come up with the idea for the podcast in the first place?
For me, it was, I was kind of brought on by Benny to, try to help develop some more of like the community aspects of the Deconstruction Junction. And so I was working closely with Cam, and Cam was like, I really want to put out some content like for the community. Do you have, any ideas for a podcast? And I'm not a very, like, it's funny because I'm very loud. I have a very, loud personality vocally and just, generally speaking. And so like, I do kind of like, I do get attention, but it's not like on purpose because I'm very shy. I'm like, I do a little bit of like, extrovert, introvert, kind of person. But anyway, so I don't like attention. I don't really, I get nervous, that kind of thing. And so at first I said no. I was like, no, I don't want to put out any content. And then I started thinking about it and I was like, you know what? Rather than looking at it as like, I'm going to be a content creator, it was more like, I really want to do something nice for the community, So I was like, I would be really interested and I think invested in talking to people, hearing their stories, and then, giving them, validation like in the conversation, and then putting it out there so that other people can find it, if they need something to relate to, or, if it makes them think about something that they hadn't thought about. And so I was like, if I were to put any content out there, it would be this. And so that's kind of where I started. And that's actually why it's released exclusively through the Deconstruction Junction YouTube, because I never did like have any intention of doing it as like, I'm a content creator, this is what I put out there, but more like I wanted to create something for the community through the community exclusively. So yeah, that's
Yeah. I really like that too. I think that I think it's very cool that you guys are really the first Deconstruction Junction program, basically, of any kind. I think that's really cool, and I hope to see more people follow suit, and we have more content that is created specifically for the Deconstruction Junction YouTube and TikTok. Because I don't know, I really love our community, and I think that the Deconstruction Junction has provided us a place not just of community, but how can I say it? Obviously it's community, but like it's more than just community. It's resources, it's it's educational. It's just more than community. That I don't know how
Yeah.
to put it into words,
Hmm.
but seeing more content creators do stuff like that, I think that it's just going to be invaluable. Yeah, it's support. It's so many things, you know.
Hmm.
So, so let's talk about. Let's tell everybody the name of your podcast, because when Crystal says, "Did you guys hear me the other day?" Like, if I could butcher the
No.
name of your podcast, okay, I called it like Scattered Foundations.
Oh, well, I mean, I guess technically, yeah. Once it's shattered, it would be shattered. I can see that. Yeah. It's um but yeah, this was another thing that we both kind of contributed to, because I had the shattered foundations like aspect that I brought to the table, because it's like when your foundation is this religion that dictates how you think, how you feel, how you see yourself, how you see others, and then you go through that deconstruction process where that foundation that you've built yourself and your life on is shattered. Then you're left picking up the pieces. And then, Garnet, do you want to take over where you kind of contributed?
I really like the shattered foundation concept, because when I read that, I was like, wow, like that, because that's really what is happening. Like, that's really what's going on. And when I think about the foundation part, it triggered in me a couple of different visualizations. One about the inner child, because those early years, that's what sets the foundation for the rest of your life. The way that you react versus respond, the way that you cope, the way that your strengths, the things that you need to work on about yourself. A lot of those things become really molded and then sort of set in stone, that becomes the foundation for your life. So for those of us who grew up in Christianity, especially, that shattered foundation part is it's really critical for us, because it's part of the childhood programming that we can undo it, but we can't undo it from our child's self. We have to undo it as an adult that is working with our inner child, working with our inner youth. And that's a different level of self introspection, to recognize when the inner child is acting out, when the inner young adult is acting out, and to see those parts of yourself and integrate them and work with them, and heal yourself, move yourself along this healing pathway. So that's what it brought to mind, that foundation part. And so you'll hear me throughout the podcast talk about inner child element, or providing resources around helping children, because I think that's also a way to work with our own inner child, is to kind of move like action and calls to action that support people who are children right now on the planet. So that is also part of the work. So it's not just trying to, sign the petition and get the numbers. Like, yes, it is important for all of the things, but also that taking action is a tool. And one of the catchphrases that I like to say is, we are becoming the adults that should have been there for us when we were kids.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that is it. Hmm.
You know, the fact that you say that, like, I wrote a blog many years ago, and it was called Dear Little Crystal. And in it, I wrote stories of things that happened to me as a child where an adult should have stepped in, should have helped me, but didn't. But I rewrote it so that I stepped in and helped little Crystal when nobody else did. And
Yeah.
I think that it's important to know that you are fixing what you are. The person, you are the adult now, and you can heal that person. You can heal that child.
Yes.
Yeah. It's really important to know that. I like Laura says, for me, it's sanity just knowing there are people who get it. That's what your podcast is, and I really like that.
Oh.
Kiki says, what's your favorite thing about the podcast and your least favorite thing?
Really quickly though, so it's shattered foundations, reconstructed self. The reconstructed self part is what Garnet brought to it, because Garnet was like, well, we all talk about the deconstruction part. We know that that's where a lot of us are, but what about the other side? When you start putting the pieces back together and rebuilding yourself and who you are. And I really liked that. I liked marrying the two ideas because, it's not a linear process, but there's ebbs and flows, and sometimes maybe I'm more deconstructing and other times I'm more reconstructing. But at the end of the day, we do at some point need to start putting some focus and intention on, okay, so we did the work. Now, how do we come back from that? How do we put everything back together in this new
Yeah.
way? So,
My
but as
community. Oh, go ahead.
oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say I work with some people in my community who one of them is an elder, and he works with stained glass and the blacksmithing part, because you have to wrap the metal, you have to heat the metal and wrap it around and make the image and this sort of thing. And I was helping them with their nonprofit stuff, which was an aside from his sort of stained glass. That was his trade. That's his life's work, is stained glass stuff. He's now much, much older, semi-retired. Old people never kind of leave. They just find something else to do. And so I was helping them with their nonprofit stuff, and then just started getting to know them both as people. And then, of course, it came up because that's his life work. There's stained glass everywhere in their house, all this. And so now fast forward to a few months, and I'm reading about what Tahir is saying about the podcast, and I see that word shattered foundations. And I talked about the foundation part, in that for me, that visualization was the inner child thing. But the shattered part, that also really struck me, because I remember asking him, how do you get the glass like that? Do you order it? Like, you say, like, I want 17 triangles and 4 dodecahedrons and 6 octagons, and how do you get the glass to do that? How do you get it to do that? And because I thought you just go online and you find the shapes and then you put it together. That was kind of what I could think of. And what he said was, he kind of looked at me and he's like, no. He's like, you break it. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, you get a piece of glass. It comes in one giant thing, and you get yourself up, prop yourself up, and then you drop it, you break it. Like, that is an intentional part of the process. And I looked at him like confused, because I was like, but every time you do that, the pieces are going to all be different. Every time you do that, sometimes it'll go into little pieces. Sometimes it'll be nice, big, chunky stuff. Like, it didn't compute with me. And so he started explaining the process, and he's like, well, then you just break it again. And so then he works with the water to smooth out the edges, to kind of grind it down a little bit so they're not as sharp, so you can work with it as safely. And then you get the metal together and you wrap it around. So he was just explaining how it goes. And so now fast forward to some months later now, and I'm reading that word shattered foundations, and I hear the glass, and I got that visualization, and like I hear the glass, and it kind of struck me, the lessons between how he described, like, you intentionally break it so that you can make something entirely new with it. And that's where I came with the reconstructed self. Because it's not enough to you can't just break the glass and say, like, oh, well, pay me for the cathedral. Like, that's not how, you have to do something. You have to do something else with it. So that's what I wanted to be. The focus was, how are you safely gathering those pieces? How are you using your creativity to weave those things together, reorganize, shuffle things around, or throw them out completely? or break another glass and integrate other shapes that work better with the pieces that you have before, and then that's where the stained glass imagery came from. It came from him and his life work. And so we talk about like the stained glass part, and Tahir has a portion in the podcast where she verbalizes, you think of the stained glass, you have to break it to make something new, and then you weave it together and you make the art. But what's not said, but what's always implied, is that stained glass has the effect and the impact that it does because there's light that comes through it. It's when the light that comes through, that's the unspoken part, is that there's a light that's passing through that medium. And that's what makes stained glass such an impactful medium. Not just the process of it and the artwork itself, like as a standalone piece, it is important, it's cool, it's great, it's all of the things. But the impact of it really is in the light that comes through, the way that the light comes through. And so there are overt, things with the stained glass, like it looks pretty, and then the process are metaphors for ourself and reconstruction, and all the metaphors are there. But then there's a lesson that's hidden below that, and I'm just talking about it now. There's a hidden secret, and you don't even need a decoder ring. You just need your own light. So how is your own light now shining through? That's the subliminal. That's the deep part for me.
I love that.
Yeah.
Laura says, what's an impactful thought or idea that has helped you with the rebuilding phase?
Well, I think the big thing for me personally is once I was able to get to that point of it's all bullshit. Like it took some work because at first I still had a lot of that fear, like, but what if, But once I was able to, like, through the lives, through like Durante Lamar specifically, he has some really, really helpful videos, but one was talking specifically about hell. So then watching that video and hearing him logically, both from the Bible and not in the Bible, break down why it's bullshit, that was a big one. And then Christ Before Jesus, reading that book and learning more about how the religion even came to be, and that like the doctrine, what it borrows from, and like people who, are said to exist in the Bible never did, like just some of that, like the foundational stuff. Once I combined all of those things and I got to the point of like, okay, it's all bullshit, all of it, then I was able to kind of, so now that I know it's bullshit, now I can move forward and like I can have my own thoughts, I can have my own opinions, I can feel like what I'm doing isn't gonna, cause me eternal damnation. And by that I mean like, being married to a woman, being a bisexual woman, like all of that kind of thing. And it was just like once I got over that hump, I was able to like permit myself to start seeing things how I want to, and it was just kind of like that thought, that switch in my mind, I think is what I credit towards being able to move into the reconstruction part, like, not feeling guilty about, certain things or second guessing things. It was like, that was a really big moment for me personally.
Hi, Grana. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. How are you guys?
Good. Hi, Grana.
I'm so excited because Tahir and I, we like share lives with each other. It's kind of what we do. We're like, this person's going
Back
live
and
and this
forth.
person- and I just want to let you know that this past week or so has been really stressful. And to just know that I was on someone else's mind really meant a lot to me. And I just want to thank you for that. I know it probably seems small to you, but it was huge to me. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
And my question is, I live in the Seattle area. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Seattle freeze, but it's basically the idea that in Seattle, it's really hard to make friends because people just kind of are in their own little world, and, it's raining all the time. So people don't go outside very often, and things like that makes it really hard to find friends. So I really was connecting people through church. And I'm finding it really hard to step away because I don't know who I'm supposed to connect with now. I'm just like feeling, wow, okay, so I have these couple people. I mean, of course, I have some friends who've been in my life who are either are or not Christians, and they don't care if I'm a Christian or not. They're like, whatever. But it's just been really hard because I don't have that community, I guess is the right word.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering
It's
if you
hard.
have any suggestions or if you've heard of anyone,
So, what the advice that I would have, because for me, like, I was never super involved in a specific church enough that I had, like long-standing relationships that I had to walk away from.
mm-hmm.
And then when I made the decision to move from Michigan to Florida, I was leaving every single friend and most of my family behind, and that was my community. So
Right.
in the first year that I was here, I didn't, actively try to make any friends. So as it stands, like I live in Florida and I have no friends here. And so it was really hard for that first year that I was here, and I didn't realize how hard it was until I found the deconstruction community, joined the
Um,
Deconstruction Junction, and then realized, wow, this is what I've been missing, people to relate to with common
mm,
interests, and, that like are really good people because they're good people, not because they have ulterior motives or, anything like that. So for me personally, the deconstruction junction and like the friends that I've made through that specifically, it has been really, really crucial and critical to me. But the advice that I would have outside of that, because I know you know all about that, Grana, um, and I think Laura was kind of saying it in the comments, is like there's all sorts of groups out there for, interests, for, like who knows what. And so, maybe try to find like socialization groups where, you share a common interest or age group or life circumstances. And, maybe that is where you start putting the emphasis on community.
I like that because I mean you could always do like because I like to do the volunteering stuff, But
Mm-hmm.
if you had a group, like let's say they were a crafting group, you meet together and you craft together. And then you could plan something and say, "Hey, I'm planning on doing this joining this team to help put food together or whatever, for people who are hungry." Then you could invite them to come along if they want. So it doesn't have to be a big thing. It could just be, "Hey, I'm doing this. Do you want to join?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. It's just, having that the person to person interaction, I think, is the biggest thing. And like
Right.
whether, these are people that you are able to connect with like on a super deep level, whether these people become your very best friends and you share your deepest, darkest, secrets with them, that may not necessarily be as important as like people that you get out and you do things with, or like I think that's when we look for community, that might even be just as good as like the, super deep, intimate relationships that you have.
That makes sense.
Just my
Yeah.
thoughts.
No, and you have the podcast and something on YouTube, or I'm confused because I came in late. I'm sorry, I didn't see you were here.
The podcast is released exclusively through the Deconstruction Junction YouTube.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so if you want to watch it, that's typically where you'll go to watch it, unless we share it to like, different places or what have you. But yeah, that's where we release it. And then Garnet and Kate the Great are going to start doing lives where they kind of talk more about the podcast or elaborate more on themes that we've touched on in the podcast. Earth, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about that.
That'd be awesome.
So, yeah, thank you, Grana, for that question. I think Tahir really kind of,
I'll be right back, but you keep talking, okay? You guys all
Okay.
appreciate the input that Tahir said, and something that I think about just to kind of touch back on some of these points, that yes, technology provides an effective medium for us to connect with others. And I think that there is an increasingly important role for those kinds of communities as safety networks, as networking, hubs. But there is still something to be said about being connected to the people who are physically around you. And one is not better than the other. It's not a hierarchy kind of thing. It's just being aware of there are advantages and disadvantages to both. So I like your example of finding something that you already like to do. Where are you aligned with doing things that bring you joy, and meeting people in those places at that spot. I really feel like that'll be the best way to find those connections that are the most meaningful for you, because even if you only walk alongside someone for a short period of time, you will still be doing things that mean something to you both. And so no effort is wasted when you are already aligned with the things that are bringing you joy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does. I like that a lot. Thank you. That's very sweet of both of you.
And now I forgot what the next thing was. So I guess we got to wait for Crystal to
Oh,
get.
the lives. I was asking if you want to talk about the lives with Kate.
Sure. So Kate the Great and I, we want to start hosting live streams, co-hosting lives called Kate and Earth. And we want to talk about the podcast. Kate has a degree in psychology. So Kate is very much invested in the psychology of like cults, not necessarily cults like proper, but we understand Christianity to be a cult. Her degree isn't in like cult psychology because that is a very specific field. So it's just psychology in general, but the cult kinds of behaviors, we can see those play out through Christianity. And having that background for her, and then also at myself, I work on certifications in the neurobiology of trauma. Those are the kinds of resources that I list in the descriptions of our podcast. And so I really wanted to team up with Kate for a number of reasons. One, because she really wants to talk about the podcast. She is really thrilled that we're doing this. She finds it to be something very interesting. It's right up her alley with what she already wants to be talking about. And she wanted to also host a space where we can not only just talk about what's going on in the podcast, but Kate can bring her perspectives from a clinical psychology background. We want to start naming things. Now in the popular culture terms like gaslighting and narcissism and straw man and steel man arguments, all of these terms are kind of making their way into the TikTok streams. They're making their way into kind of popular social discourse. But before everyone took up the term narcissist and threw it at anyone who disagreed with them, those had clinical applications. Those are very much grounded in very real clinical praxis. And Kate wants to bring that element to empower people so that we as a deconstruction community can begin recognizing what are we seeing, what is going on here. And to name things is such an empowering first step, because when you can name something, you're grounding the experience in an experience that's been studied, that has a name, that has a history that we can understand. We can look it up, we can find more things about it, we can find experts. That's also another reason why I wanted to start doing these lives with Kate, so that people can start listening to how do experts sound. Living in a fascist capitalist hellscape that we are living in right now, a lot of the tactics of fascism is sowing the seeds of distrust and setting themselves up as being the only ones who are trustworthy. So you can't listen to the news because they're sold out, and you can't trust that, and you can't trust. And sometimes it isn't distrust. Sometimes it's just casting enough doubt so that everyone gets a pass to say, well, we won't ever really know the truth anyway, so I guess I'm not going to do anything about starving children because we just don't know if it's real. Like, so it gives people, even if the goal of the disinformation, misinformation, propaganda, even if the goal isn't distrust, if they can get people inactive, that is just as harmful because no one's doing anything to change anything. So
I agree.
I want to bring in someone who can talk as an expert, can reference other kinds of experts, and start to re-normalize, how do experts sound? How do I find and locate expert resources? What does it mean to peer review? Not that we'll go into all of the logistics and the nitty-gritty of stuff, but as people, tune in, listen in, they're reading peer-reviewed scientific things, peer-reviewed psychology articles that I'm putting in the podcast. We're talking with someone who has a degree in psychology with Kate and Earth. And so really sort of reorienting people around, yes, we can build collective trust into experts for a reason. Here's what they sound like. Here's how we locate them. And to begin equipping our atheist community with the tools to start being able to recognize behaviors when we see it and know what are the appropriate responses. Because what I'm learning in my own, pursuing my own certifications in the neurobiology of trauma is that there are a lot of things that we, as people who are kind of outside of that realm, that we think are helpful that aren't helpful. We might think that we know what we're doing when we're playing a narcissist game, but we will very soon quickly find out that we are ill-equipped and we don't. So there are ways to engage. There are times when we need to disengage, when it is important to disengage, understanding that disengaging is a tactic, and it is a tool that needs to be used in certain instances. So I wanted to host those conversations with Kate because she really wanted to get back on TikTok. She really wanted to have a more focused kind of streaming versus just kind of the big panel thing. And we wanted to start with talking about the podcast and then hosting Tahir if she wants to join us, and then hosting the guests of the episodes that we drop, bringing them up and talking a little bit more, not the story element, because that's going to be on the YouTube release through the Deconstruction Junction YouTube page, but getting into other tangential issues.
And like a follow-up. I mean, I think there's a lot of shows that do that nowadays where there's a podcast and then there's podcaster shows about the podcast because they're so interesting and it's so nice to have a conversation about the conversation that you listen to, So I love it.
Yeah, because that's one of the things, because Keelana had asked, like, what is the favorite part of the podcast and the least favorite? For me, my favorite part is having these conversations with people and getting to know people. But the thing is you sit down and you chat with somebody, you have a really good conversation for 4 or 5 hours. Well, we can't release a 4 or 5 hour podcast. So then the least favorite part for me is having to go through and decide what stays and what has to be taken out. And so that's the nice thing about these lives that they're doing is there's more freedom and more time to like really dive into things and dissect things in a way that we may not have necessarily been able to in the episode. Like we did behind the scenes, but what comes out is just barely touching the surface a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So
it really is.
Can I go back to what your friend? Sorry, all I see is a rose. I don't see your name.
Oh, Earth.
Girth. Okay, it won't let me follow you for some reason. I'm sorry, but
Earth or Garnet, either one.
Earth or Garnet. Got it. Okay, I like that, Girth. That's really cute. what you said at the beginning, I really appreciate, because I'm someone with OCD, and people throw that term around all the time where they're like, oh, I'm so OCD, I have to have everything in my kitchen just right. And I'm like, oh, if only that's all it was. That would be so beautiful. So, but getting people to understand that there's meaning behind all the terms that we use to describe whether it's a mental issue or whether it's someone's personality or something, why they're there, and that they're not just, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but they have more meaning than just a basic, oh, you're acting like a jerk, so you're a narcissist,
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate
Yeah.
that very much.
I also think too that it will help. I know that we're, trying to keep it, positive and all this sort of thing. But as we are all unpacking as atheists, as people who are agnostic atheists or whatever we're labeling ourselves as we are moving away from the harms of this religion, a lot of what we need to unpack come in the forms and shapes of anti-Blackness, anti-nativeness, and ableism. And so another reason why I want to have these conversations so that we can name things, we have names for these kinds of things, is so that one, we can kind of stop throwing things around where they don't apply. Two, we can recontextualize certain mental conditions. I understand that for a lot of people, narcissism is a real thing. It has very harmful and destructive consequences for the people who need to survive someone who has that disorder. But it is also a very real diagnosed thing. And there are many people who are clinically diagnosed as narcissists who are getting help, who took the steps to recognize that these are my patterns, this is my behavior, and these are the treatments that help me not be that way in the world. And so the goal isn't to try and associate and attach all of these negative and bad things and it's my OCD and they're being a narcissist and all these kinds of things, because there are narcissistic people who are trying to get help, and it's not a fixed condition that is just static and it's never changing and it's hopeless and that's all that you are, kind of thing. There are steps that can be taken to take responsibility for these conditions, however they are existing. And I do hear you on the OCD thing, because I am very big, as someone who is autistic myself, neurodivergent, who works with non-speaking autistic young children and neurodivergent children. I'm really sensitive to hearing people, call others stupid and dumb and all these kinds of things. And so I want to provide ways for us to unpack the ableisms that do come with Christianity, because it doesn't just come with Christianity. It is embedded in this fascist system that we are living in.
Can I give you an example from my own life, a very embarrassing example? I was watching something or listening to something one day, and they were talking about a family, this little black boy who was adopted by a family. And I was like, okay, the little kid's adopted by a family. And then they showed the family. And I was like, oh my God, because I had automatically assumed that it would be a white family, even though nothing there ever said it was. And I was like, well, I guess I still have work to do, don't I? Because every time we think that, oh, we've got this, because, I grew up with a lot of racism in the household. And so every time I'm like, okay, I'm getting better, I've got this, something slaps me down and says, no, you need to be humble, and you need to realize that this is something you're going to struggle with the rest of your life, because it just becomes automatic after a while. And that doesn't make you a horrible person, but it does mean you need to keep your eyes on yourself, Does that make sense?
You need to be aware of it and know what it means to take responsibility for it. And this is where you can begin to change those things that, yes, it may be something that you struggle with for any length of time. And that just might be what it is. That's the childhood programming. That's the subconscious programming. All of the things that were active and alive on the planet long before you got here. But that there are still things that you can do to take that responsibility and to hold yourself with a level of integrity to catch that, address that, work on that, unpack it. So I agree with what you're saying here.
Hey,
All right, well,
everyone.
I'm going to let other people go now, but thank you both. Tahir, so nice to see you. You look amazing. You're
Yes.
just
You too,
beautiful.
Brianna. Thank you.
Thank you.
Always my
Greta, thank
pleasure.
you for being here. We love you. Thanks so much
Love
for
you
coming up.
guys. Bye.
Bye. Uh, hey,
Um,
sis, how are you?
Hey, Miss Crystal. I am loving your eyeshadow. I know I told you that already,
Thank
but
you.
a fun way to
I
do
was kind of nervous. I even went and asked my daughter, okay, I played with my eyeshadow. Did I do too much? And she goes, no, it's not too
it's pretty.
It's
Yeah.
like, I almost like it when people make it more emphasized. Like, so much of, like, current style is very muted. Ooh, I see the pink now.
Yeah, I love it.
No, so I appreciate deeply everyone here on this panel, and I believe that we're all working towards the same thing. So I don't want to come across as argumentative. For anyone listening, I felt that it was important to get this point of view across as well, but I believe there was some misinformation or just something that was misinformed being stated earlier. So narcissism is actually a personality disorder. It is something that cannot be cured or treated. And if anything, what happens is narcissists will go to therapy if you can get them into therapy just to learn how to mask better, just to learn how to be more manipulative. There really is no cure, and it's very sad. And if someone says that they are changing, unfortunately, you're being played and used. And so I felt that it was important to just address that. And if someone could point me in the direction of some sources, so I can maybe understand where this information is coming from, I'm open to that as well.
So here's what I will say, because I don't have any kind of degree, but I did take, some psychology courses because that was initially where I was. I did want to be like a therapist, a psychologist, but also coming at it from like I have a personality disorder, I have BPD, and I think with any diagnosis, especially mental health diagnoses, or and not just, I mean, like really almost anything, like autism is a spectrum, but like, these things you can't necessarily paint them with, just a broad brush and, that is what it is. I think a lot of these things are very like nuanced from person to person. And that's one of the things with like BPD that I face personally is it's people are with BPD are seen one way. And yeah, like there are some staples that like are pretty common with most people, but then they're not with everybody. And like, like people
I,
who
I
have
have to agree.
BPD, yeah,
Because
are
I have
villainized.
bipolar
Yeah,
disorder. And I
exactly.
think that one of the biggest misconceptions for people with bipolar disorder is that every single one of them has manic episodes. I don't
Mm-hmm.
get manic like other people do. It's very psychological for me and not a physical manifestation of my manic state. So people for a long time misdiagnosed me with just depression because I wasn't up cleaning in the middle of the night or something.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is, I think a lot of these disorders are a spectrum.
Exactly. I mean, even like if we're talking psychopathy and um, sociopathy, like even them too, like you can't necessarily paint them with a broad brush because, each person is a little bit different and not every, person with like sociopathy or what have you, like they're not necessarily going to go harm somebody. Like they're villainized in the way that a lot of mental illnesses are, unfortunately, and like assumed to be a certain way, but that's not necessarily true of each person. So that said, if somebody does have narcissistic personality disorder, while yes, it cannot be cured, it can be helped in that if there's somebody who has awareness of their diagnosis, and a true intent to like not want it to impact other people the way that it normally would, you can learn how to see people differently, like how to perceive emotion in enough that like you can recognize when somebody, and I'm thinking of psychopathy right now actually, but like with narcissism, I mean, like it's you get treatment to learn how to manage your own disorder and manage the way that it impacts those around you. So like maybe not necessarily again curing the disorder, but making it more manageable for yourself and for those around you. And again, it is a spectrum. That's what I would say. But Earth, I don't know if you have a little bit more you wanna, because you do have more like um, schooling than I do.
I'm sorry.
Sure.
Education, I'm sorry.
I would say, hmm,
Oh, I didn't understand you were asking for someone else. I thought I was
Oh yeah.
poster
Oh,
of but go ahead.
I would say I agree with what Crystal and Tahir are saying here. And if you are looking for specific resources, I strongly recommend the National Institute for the Clinical Application of Behavioral Medicine. They do a lot of really groundbreaking work on the neurobiology of trauma. And when it comes to
What's that called again? The National.
the chat, so if you go on their website, they have a number of free resources that they have made available to the general public. They are doing a lot of work to distill the information in a way that is more accessible to people who are not in a clinical practice. So while they are the National Institute for people that are that have a clinical psychology or psychiatry or trauma therapy, this sort of thing, they are the clinical psychology practice. But what they have found in the past, approaching decade, is that there needs to be more intentional efforts to distill the information in a way that it can sort of leave those clinical spaces and become more available for people that are in other sectors. Educators, law enforcement, firefighters, doctors, medical staff, people who are working with emergency disaster, people who are working with climate refugees, famine refugees. So they are doing a lot of work to get information and accreditation into other sectors that are not in like a clinical practice sort of setting. So that is absolutely an excellent place to start in terms of finding resources.
Yeah, I'm looking on it right now. They don't appear to be an organization, which is usually what I look for when looking for sources that I would find to be more reputable, but I am going to go through and scroll and just give them a glance over. And then I did want to speak to both Tahir and Crystal's point about BPD. So that is another personality disorder. However, it is separate from NPD in that there's treatment available. And I really haven't met one person with that who specifically is set out to be manipulative and abusive, which are the two most telling traits.
And you know what? I just want to make this clear for you, sis, and for everybody listening. I don't know anything about narcissistic personality disorder. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. I've never studied it. I don't have it. I don't know anything about it. I know that it's very serious, and I think it fucks a lot of people's lives up, okay? The people who have it harm a lot of people. And do I know people who clinically have this? Yes, I do. My abuser clinically has narcissistic personality disorder. I'm not throwing that word around like people do. So I just want to make that clear. I don't know. I have no idea if it is now treatable or not. It was not treatable when I was growing up, and I don't know if it is or not. And I'm not going to make any claim for it or against it. I just know that with a personality disorder, even though what people who have it do can hurt people, I also have some empathy for the person with the disorder because, like, fuck,
They didn't
it
ask
sucks
for
to
it.
have it fucking
Yeah.
sucks to have a fucking personality disorder. It
Mhm.
really does. So
Yeah.
I just have that tiny bit of empathy for them, but it's a very tiny bit, by the way. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway, I can't speak anyway to it, sis. I don't know if it's treatable. I really don't.
Yeah. And I mean, and honestly, I'm just gonna be for real because, sis, I mean, we've shared a lot of the same spaces. I don't have anything against you at all. Like, it's actually really nice to see you here. But I will say that even speaking how you were speaking about BPD, I personally think that you have a lot of research maybe to do before you speak publicly, at least about BPD, if not about narcissistic personality disorder as well, because it is coming across very like very limited knowledge. I will say that. Same thing with Crystal, though. I am not I don't have degrees. I don't have, training. Like, I'm not a professional by any means. And so I can't necessarily speak on it definitively. So I guess, yeah, I've said probably what I should and will say about it, but I do encourage you not to paint people, generally speaking, with a broad brush because everybody is very different. Even if you have a label of a diagnosis slapped on you, everybody is still very different. And these illnesses manifest in very different ways for different people. That's all.
Okay. Yeah, and I receive that. I think what I'm hearing is when I was sharing, I feel that I was met with resistance based on prior hurt, and I can't imagine what that must be like because to my knowledge, I mean, I have not been diagnosed with a personality disorder, so I cannot pretend to walk in your shoes or Crystal's shoes and understand what that might be like. However, my main point is that it's treatable. There's medication available, and that I have not met anyone with bipolar personality disorder who set out to intentionally hurt someone or be manipulative. That was my point. And it's definitely different for people with NPD. And I would like to say that on my end, it kind of almost comes across the same way, that there appears to be a limited knowledge of NPD.
And I'm admitting that I don't. I agree with you, sis. I don't have the knowledge on that. And that's why I'm not going to speak on it one way or the other. I don't have the knowledge on it.
And I don't have knowledge on BPD. I don't want to pretend to sound like I do. That was not my intent.
No. I'm not insulted by you at all. I'm glad you came up, and I knew you would have knowledge on NPD that I didn't have. So, no, I'm not. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah. Wish I didn't have the knowledge, but yeah, I've had a pretty good lifetime of seeing it firsthand. So, and
yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing is like, I do have a personality disorder, so I know how we get painted with that broad brush and assumed that we're all the same. And that's actually like, it's opposite in that, like, one of the ways that BPD is villainized is that we are seen as manipulative and abusive. And, like, I could go on and on about all the misconceptions with BPD because it does manifest in that way for some people, but not for others. And, like, I can understand, like, I can check when my impulses, like, may be leaning into the BPD and then curb that because I have had enough, at least enough, like, treatment to know these things. So, like, and it's the same thing, like, BPD cannot be cured. I mean, it can be treated with therapy and medication, but it's never going to go away. I'm never going to get rid of it. And it's the same thing with NPD. I don't think any of us, me or Earth, have said that it's treatable and that you can fix it with medication or you can fix it with therapy. What we're saying is that people with narcissistic personality disorder can get help to make it more manageable for themselves and for those around them. Um, like I said, I've read the DSM stuff on NPD. I took some psychology courses. That's where my knowledge comes from. So again, while it's not like I'm not a professional by any, stretch of the word, I have done enough research to know that it is a personality disorder and that you can seek help for it, not necessarily that every person will be successful in curbing, the effects of said personality disorder. But I would never discourage somebody from trying to get help if they really want to get help and want to benefit those around them. That's kind of where I'm coming from.
Okay. Yeah, I also do not have a degree in psychology, but like you, I did also take some psychology courses, and some lifelong courses, just from dealing with it personally. So I have been able to experience it from the clinical side of things, as well as just coming from a personal lens of things as well. But one of the things when I hear you speaking, it sounds like you're very self-aware. You're aware of what's going on. You're aware of yourself. And that's something that is not present with people who have NPD. There is no self-awareness. And so to me, that's also one of the biggest differences. It's just this willingness to want to not harm people around you, to want to improve. And I cannot say that that exists with people with NPD. But I understand that where you're coming from is people putting labels on people with certain clinical diagnoses. And so anything I say might sound like more of a confirmation that I'm doing that. So I guess I don't have much more to add, because then we'll just keep hitting a wall. But I do want to just reiterate that I'm hearing what you're saying. I don't understand it from a personal side because I couldn't, but I do want to acknowledge that I'm hearing you, and I do hope that I'm being heard as well on your end.
I think that the important thing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, sis, okay, but before you drop down or whatever, is that you would like people to know that that people who have NPD aren't going to just go get therapy and be healed.
Right.
And if anybody with NPD tells you that, they're doing that to manipulate you further, and you put yourself in a harmful situation. You should get the fuck out.
Yes, that's it. I've never met.
I think that you're just protecting people, and I appreciate that so much, because people who don't know what true narcissistic personality disorder looks like might not realize that one of the very things they do is do everything that they think you want them to do. And then, so yeah, I get that, and I appreciate you protecting people. I really do.
And I'm sorry you had your experience with, you said your ex had it. So I'm sorry that you know what that's like from a personal view.
Now, it actually wasn't my ex. It is and always will be somebody who's called my brother. He's luckily not really my brother, but they call him my brother because of, family things, But anyway, he has it. He always will. He's a piece of shit. He's not in my life, so cut that motherfucker out of my life. So I don't have to deal with him.
Yeah, I'm glad you did what you needed to for your boundaries. It's so important.
Yeah, thank you, and I'm glad you do too. And I love your content. And don't stop. I see the haters in your comments.
I got my first one the other week. I was so proud.
I know. I was like, yeah, she's doing something. She got a hater.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for chatting with me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for
Thanks
coming
for
up.
coming up. We appreciate you, sis. If you're not following Sis Magic has survived a relationship with a family that have NPD and has cut them out of her life and talks about what it's like to do that, and it's not easy to do, and but it's freeing when you finally do it.
Yep.
Just gotta say.
All right. I have no idea how to get down, but drop me down.
Okay, I'm drop you down. Schley, are you back? Did you want to ask the amazing Earth and Tahir any questions?
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I absolutely adore everybody here, and I am always hoping that I get the chance to talk with all of you, but I am so looking forward to things that are coming, and that's what I will say about that. But I mean, I always want to pick everybody's mind, like brain, whatever, however you say that, in a less creepy way than what I just did. Um, but I don't know. I mean, I've just been so inspired listening to everything and the wealth of knowledge and support that these two ladies, I mean, it's just like incredible. Um, and yeah, I'm looking forward to, I think I have a lot of thoughts going on right now. Oh, thanks, Kiki. Um,
Seconded.
but yeah, I'm
It's
just
true.
I didn't, what I didn't know actually about Earth is that you said you work with autistic children. And is that accurate? Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, I've worked in a special education um, building for a year, and then I've done personal care assistance for a tribal member, tribal member's family. I loved him to death. Yes, who was on the spectrum and did not speak.
Oh man, I I would love to have a full-on conversation. I've actually wanted to have a conversation with someone about just like some personal things. So if you ever have, I don't know, maybe DMs or maybe we can just chat. But yeah, so I didn't know that, and that is amazing. And I don't know. That's what I got for right now. I'm trying to clean my house, and uh, while it's empty, we had a flood, and I'm like, well, while it's empty, let me do a solid deep clean.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's
absolutely,
good to
Shay.
see you.
Yes, you too. I sent you a request. I thought I was following you already, but I
Oh, yeah, I thought we were too. Okay, let me see. I may have to, maybe when I leave, I'll have to accept it, but I sure will.
some there's a little bit of delay here with my microphone, but I've noticed this with a few other accounts. I have to keep following you guys, and I'm not sure what's
I
going on.
hate that.
Yeah, you're not the only one, and it makes me wonder, like, oh, did this person me follow them, or I've like, if it happened on their, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
And so,
Yeah.
yeah,
can
so
they
I
make you unfollow? I don't know if that's a thing, but it's happened to me before too, where I'm
Yeah.
like, I promise I was following you. I don't know what happened there. So yeah.
absolutely, you can send me a DM, and we can have those kind of conversations. Just let me know.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. I was like, I know there's several people in our community that have that are on the spectrum or that have children in their lives that are on the spectrum. And I am one of those. I have three nieces, and they are just so precious. And I think I'm navigating how to be like I'm not their parent. And
Yeah.
It's really hard. It's really hard because my entire family is still in the cult and they believe very
Ugh.
differently. And it is extremely difficult to see, to sit by and watch. And so I'm curious as to ways that I can stay within the boundary lines of my position in their lives, but offer support. It's very tricky, very, very tricky.
Well,
So,
if you have just a few seconds here,
yeah.
there are some things that, okay, hold on, just one moment. To
You guys, oh, go ahead, Earth. There was a delay.
trying to navigate those kinds of boundaries, and also in navigating boundaries is one thing, but I also hear the walking on eggshells because you don't want the contact to be cut off altogether. And so that is very real. So there's boundaries, right? There's that respect and there's boundaries, but then there's kind of this conjoined twin of the eggshell piece sometimes, especially if you are dealing with a relative or an adult who's not particularly receptive to any sort of criticism or suggestion or advice or anything that conflicts with how they want to treat this little person, this young person.
Right.
So what you are seeing and while you are trying to help, and the focus is to get to healthy imprinting on the young person, you have to get through the dynamic, and dealing with all of that, it can be a lot. So we will talk more about
Yeah.
more things that you can start working with now that can help you. So okay, so I don't have to necessarily ask that. So something that I like to talk about that applies not just in the situations that you're in right now, but something that has helped me personally as I deal with my own relatives who are struggling with addiction, even struggling with different substance abuse, is there are ways of working through silence, and recognize that what is passed along through the words, it really isn't the totality of what is conveyed in your interaction with others. I know that I've been on other live streams with you before. I remember I was on a stream with, her name was Tracy a while ago, and she was Deconstruction. Oh, I can't remember what they were called, but it was a series that she had done, and I had talked about that in particular with working in your own body, especially when you're dealing with another person whose hardware, meaning the physical brain or the nervous system itself, is more or less compromised because of the chemical imbalances that occur during addictions, or even after, even trying to move through recovery. So working in your own nervous system, getting grounded into your own body. When you gain those tools to regulate yourself, and you're holding those sentiments of what it means to be confident in yourself, to be rooted in yourself, to not be swayed by what other people are saying. And I'm not sure the specific dynamics that you are trying to address with the young child, but I'm just sort of using for examples here. When you are holding that within yourself and you are soothing your own nervous system, those messages are being conveyed at the nervous system to nervous system level, especially when you are in physical proximity to one another. And the reason why this works is because we are human beings. We're people, we're humans. And for the most part, we evolved socially. We evolved as social creatures. And so there are elements of nervous system patterning that are passed along even before words, thoughts, and concepts are a thing. And we see proof of this in the way that bonds are developed between many parents and their offspring, or if they're not their offspring. So we see this even in infants. We can find those examples of infants expressing emotion and expressing bond and expressing connection, even though they're not being told, hey, this is my mother and I'm going to do, even before the thoughts and the words arise, that nervous system connection, it can still be established. So what you can take from this is you can always tap into that, and you can still access that even if they aren't quote unquote biologically your own children, because we're the same species still, and you can still use that as a tool to convey and to connect. So it may seem like it's not enough. It may seem, even in those moments, like it's not doing anything, how am I going to see, but the reality is that the other nervous systems in your proximity, they are picking up on those signals. So as you get comfortable in yourself and you are grounding into your own nervous system, those feelings of safety, security, self-trust, eliminating that self-doubt, not kind of falling into can I trust myself? Am I really seeing the situation for what it is? Right? No, that self-assuredness, that security, those kind of foundational frequencies that those parents should be conveying to that child, but aren't, in this situation. You can convey those without words, but the loophole is you need to be conveying it to yourself, in yourself. And as your nervous system is doing that, as it is doing that to itself, you can entrain the nervous systems around you. This is what the nervous patternings look like to feel safe, to feel secure. So even if the child may not pick up on it right away, because it might not be healthy to get a sense of grounding and safety as someone is, treating me like shit. No, but it still gets logged away as a pattern that they can follow at a different time. Maybe they can go back to their room and then they've got this, okay, here's a map and I can, get back into regulation. So that really is the starting point. You have to model that sense of safety, security, self-trust, self-reliance. You have to model that within yourself. And the more you get into a practice of doing that, of finding your joy, you begin holding that chemical balance in your own body, and other nervous systems around you, they are picking that up, whether they are consciously aware of it or not.
Very interesting. I mean, I tried to follow most of what you said. I may have to hear it again, but I
It'll be
appreciate
on YouTube in a
nonetheless.
couple days.
And
if
I
you
will say,
if you have to.
I will say, it is kind of, I guess, a little bit validating to hear because um, one of my nieces in particular, uh, like every time I see her, we do have that special bond, and she's very particular about her people and who she interacts with, like at all. And um, so to get a hug, I mean, every time I see this girl, she gives me a hug. And that to me is just such a gift and a huge deal. And so I guess, you know, maybe she's feeling, safe, safe at least with me. Um, and that's good. But yeah, just it's it's a lot when you have people who deny autism is even a thing, like
Hmm.
um
Yeah.
and I want to see these girls, like I love them with my whole heart, and I want to see them supported and have their needs met, and um you know
It's
yeah.
hard. Yeah. But like you're doing what you can, what's within your means is being a safe space, showing love and, care for the autism. So, you may be limited in what you can do, but I think you're doing the right thing.
Well, thank you. I agree.
But I
Yeah,
am glad to hear
you're
you're back in
definitely.
your home. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I just was just reiterating what you said. It's just really good that um, as they grow, they're going to have somebody safe, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Understands. Yeah.
There's also a huge part of me that just wants to scream at all the adults in the situation and just rage out. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just honest. Like, that's, you know, I haven't yet. Who knows if I will? Try not to totally lose my shit, but
Yeah,
anyway.
it's
Anyway.
hard.
It's hard. I don't know if I could do it without losing my shit, to be honest.
Yeah, it's kind of a long haul thing. Like the big picture, you know. Does
Yeah, it
anybody
is.
know what to do with empty, sparkling water? What is this?
The
You know the
CO2
like
thing?
the CO2 cartridges? Yeah, I have two of them and I don't know what to do. Sorry,
Oh.
I'm distracted. I don't know what to do with that. I can't throw it away,
I,
can I?
I think you have to Google that one, Schley. You're gonna have to Google it.
Okay, I will. I will.
I don't know what to do, but I'm sure there's a special way to dispose of them. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
wonder
I don't
if you
think I
could
can
just
just
return
throw.
them to the company.
Well, I should probably just order more because, like, I need to. Oh, am I just rambling? Y'all, shut me up.
Yeah, we
Hi,
love you.
Erin. We love you, Schley.
Hey, Crystal. How's your day going?
Good. How's your day going?
I am painting signs because I'm going to a protest tomorrow, and I've been listening to the
Yay.
live while I'm painting. And the last discussion has me crying. Um,
Aw.
so I guess I just wanted to ask Tahir. I am watching in live time my family pull my 17-year-old daughter back into the evangelical church. I
Oh.
think they've given up on me, and so they think that there's hope in her still. And like she had 100% said she wanted to go to this protest with me tomorrow, and I just got a text message from her earlier telling me that she doesn't want to go anymore. And she's
Oh.
told me that she's been invited to be a teacher at Vacation Bible School. And I don't think those things are. I know that there's ulterior motives with my family and my church trying to pull her into being involved in things, and I see it working. I see it working,
Oh.
and I just really don't know how to even act towards my daughter at this point, because part of me wants to tell her off, really, but I know that's not going to be productive.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I think this is definitely going to be a good Garnet question, but I think for me personally, I would probably say, like whether or not you share your own personal feelings is definitely up to you, but I'm always an advocate for like an open line of communication with your kids that goes both ways. Um, but aside from that, just compassion, like it's not easy, especially when the manipulation comes out, with religion and where it's concerned. And Garnet does touch a lot about the way that Christianity hijacks the nervous system. And so, like it may not even be cognitive why we latch on to the ideas of religion and Christianity and that. So just compassion and be a safe place where your daughter can work through this. Do I not want to, like, one of the places maybe where there's not as much pressure one way or the other. Yeah, I mean, I know I can imagine that it's really hard, and you might be feeling hopeless, sometimes, but it's probably not easy on her end either, I guess is my thing.
Yeah, I guess I haven't really thought about how it feels to her. It's just been years now that I left the church, and I I don't even understand why she would want to I understand what they're doing. I understand what my mom is doing and what the church is doing and my brother and sister are doing.
Right.
But I don't understand if I'm not giving her something that the church can give her. Like, is there a void that I'm not able to help her fill? It really
Have you asked her?
No, I haven't. She's been actually at my mom's house for the past 10 days. She's 17 years old.
Yeah.
She's 17. I can't make her come back to my place.
No, you can't, I used to try to tell people stuff like that when my kids were 17. They would always tell me, make her do this or make what I don't think you understand what a 17-year-old is, and how it's a delicate balance between me protecting them from themselves now and them making the stupidest decisions of their life, because they think they're grown suddenly. They just do. And we all did at 17. So it's hard. It's difficult. I think that sometimes we want to know, like, how can I prevent this? How can I stop this? How can I shut this all down immediately? And when reality, we realize it was not going to be like that, because no matter what you do, she's growing up, she's moving on, and there's Christians everywhere, right? And so I think the best thing sometimes we can do is just make sure that she is fully educated, and just talk to her and tell her, look, I get it that this is something you're getting into right now. And so I just want to make sure that you understand everything about this religion, and not just what they're going to teach you. Because of course, when somebody wants you to be a part of their club, they're going to show you all the good parts of the club. But I want you to know that it's not all good. And so I think you should know the history of it all the way before the Old Testament was written. Like, you should know. You should know about the Epic of Gilgamesh. You should know about what Jewish people think and what the rabbinical teachings are about this Messiah. You should know these things. I know that this is going to sound stupid, but I just told my kids, like, if they wanted to get into things, like, I was religious, so that was allowed, okay? But let's say it was something else that I didn't particularly like, and smoking was one of them. For instance, I said, I'm never going to tell you can't smoke, because you're going to do it if you want to or not. But what I am going to tell you is, if I ever catch you smoking, you're going to have to do research on it. And I mean actual research. You're going to write me a research paper on the cause and effects of smoking. I want you to tell me exactly what happens to people when they smoke, what happens to their lungs, what is emphysema, what is CPOD. I want to know all of that. And if after you do all that research and write all those papers you smoke, I'll never say anything else to you again, because you'll have educated yourself and still have made the decision to do it, right? And so if you're going to do this thing, then educate yourself fully on this topic. Really read the Bible. Is it okay that slavery is okay in the Bible? Is that okay? Does that align with your morals?
Is biracial, and so she and I, when I left the church, she was pretty young, and she and I have talked about these things, about slavery and how the Bible felt about it. But And my daughter, there were times I had to pull her back and be like, okay, that's enough, because she wanted to fight with everyone about religion.
Mhm.
I would pull her back and be like, you don't need to go around destroying everybody's faith. And to see her make this change to where she wants to spend time with, I have a niece who's the same age of her, and my niece is very involved in the church that I was part of. And I'm not blaming my niece, but I mean, it's because of her relationship with my niece that she agreed to help with Vacation Bible School, and that she got up and went to church this Sunday for the first time in like 6 years. And then she just sent me a text a little while ago telling me she didn't think that she wanted to go to the protest with me, which is fine. I don't want her to go if she's not feeling it. I just wonder what's been said to her that has made her not want to go, since she's at my mom's with my niece. It's just, my Christianity caused me so much heartache as a teenager, and I just want better for her.
Yeah, that's the hard part about being a parent is, you spend all this time raising a child and then you have to release them into the world and, sit by and watch them make some really, really bad decisions, in some cases. But with Christianity, I mean, you could liken it to an abusive relationship in that, if it was a person, it's not really that easy to fully sever that relationship. Like you may cognitively know that this person isn't good for me, like these are all the wrong reasons, but when they come with that manipulation and the pretty words, and you start to feel that love that was, if even that you thought was once there, it's, easy to be pulled back in. And so, it might be a little bit of that. And, I imagine if your daughter was saying, like, I'm going back to, this person that was abusive, you would feel the same way. Um, so, I mean, I definitely think you guys should have a conversation, at least one where you lay out how you feel, and then, you hear her out, let her tell you how she feels, what's going on, and then at least you have that like basis of understanding. And also for yourself, I mean, I know it's easier said than done, but don't internalize the choices that your daughter's making, because there are so many forces at play, and it's not anything that you've done, good or bad. It just is what it is. This is a very, very powerful system. It's a very, very manipulative system. I mean, you've got the fear element, you've got the community element, you've got that collective effervescence element. I mean, there's so many different ways that they can attack you to, make you vulnerable and pull you back in. But I'd really like to hear what Earth has to say about this, because this is actually something that we've talked a lot about.
I like what both Tahir and Crystal have said. I think that they are absolutely excellent suggestions. I just have one question, Aaron. You mentioned, did I hear you when you say that you said your daughter was biracial?
Yes.
Okay. What background is the other parent?
He's Black, but he has never been involved in her life. My ex-husband adopted her, so she has only been around white people her whole life. And my family that she's with now, they're white. She just hasn't had any exposure to Black culture just because of the circumstances of her dad leaving when she was born.
Assuming then that the church that she's going to is on your side of the family's church?
Yeah, it's the church
Okay.
it's the church that I used to attend, and it's the church where she went to school through 7th grade. So she knows a lot of people there, but ever since I pulled the kids out, she has been the one who was like on my side were, Mom, this is kind of BS. It was one of the reasons why I pulled them out, because my daughter brings me her science book and is like, this says that the dinosaurs are only 400 years old. And like, she showed
Oh
me
my
things like
God.
this that, and it's terrible. I wasn't even looking at the curriculum my kids are being taught. I was just trusting the church. And that was one of the components that made me pull my kids out of that school. I was like, holy moly. Like, if anything, I thought they were teaching them that the dinosaurs were part of God's creation plan, because I still believed in dinosaurs and I think I believed that they were destroyed with the flood. I don't, because I think that's what was taught to me. But she was very ready to see me get out of religion, and she thought it was ridiculous. And my oldest son, who is 22, he never bought into it. And so when I was a Christian, I was very worried about my oldest son, because he just would always tell me he thinks it's bullshit. My middle kid will tell you he's a Christian, but he hasn't been to church for years. But he holds on to that, I believe that Jesus is our savior stuff. But he's not it's not an active part of his life. Where my youngest, I guess she followed my lead when I left the church.
Yeah.
And now I'm seeing her. When she told me they invited her to do Vacation Bible School, and they told her it will count towards her college volunteer credits. She told me that's the reason she was doing it. And I told her, I'm like, if that's what you want to do, okay. But there's lots of ways to get your college volunteer credits. It's not just, I feel like it makes me mad. It makes me really mad at my church, or my parents' church, because I think they manipulated. They were like, hey, you can get 3 hours of college volunteer credits if you come do Vacation Bible School for a week.
Yeah. So, okay.
They did. They did.
Yeah, agreed. So, a couple of points here. One moment. So, to start, I will point you to our episode 5 in our podcast. When you go to the Deconstruction Junction YouTube, you'll see different gray bars on the bottom, and you'll kind of scroll to the right and you'll see podcasts, and we'll be listed in there. Go to episode 5 and listen to Asheron. I'll reiterate a lot of the things that I said in there, but I encourage you to listen to it from start to finish.
Okay.
So just as okay.
And where am I going? In Deconstruction Junction, I'm not real familiar with it. I actually just joined it like a week ago. What is the tab I'm looking for exactly?
Oh, you're gonna want to go to to YouTube and look for the Deconstruction Junction YouTube channel.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one of y'all could send her a link when we're done.
Yeah, it's in my bio. In the link tree in my bio, we do have a link to the Deconstruction Junction YouTube.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Doing you now, Erin. So I will send you the specific podcast link. But yes, it's also in Tahir's bio. So in episode 5, we sat down with Asheron, part of our deconstruction community, and he basically deconstructed when he was 5. I'll let him tell his story through the podcast, but as we get, further down in our session speaking with him, some of the things that we were able to reiterate are a couple of key points here. They're different veins, but they're kind of headed in the same direction. So one vein is that there are elements of Christianity that really cut to the core of the survival programming in the nervous system. This is beyond logic, it's beyond reason. It is the reason why we see people, we talk about the pretzels and we talk about twisting and contorting themselves and jumping through all of the mental gymnastics. And, you know, we have those kinds of expressions and they're funny, and we watch the crash outs on the live streams and we have our popcorn. But there is something very real going on, that there are limits to what logic can provide when it is the survival programming in the nervous system that is being activated, because that survival mechanism in the nervous system is why we've lasted this long on the planet. So that it's not going anywhere. But realize that that is what you're contending with. So let me jump to the next vein here. So the next vein that we discussed is this: being drawn into cult dynamics is really not a matter of intelligence. It's not an issue of comprehension. It's not necessarily an issue of, you know, how smart you are and how clever you are and all these kinds of things, because we see all kinds of really intelligent people that have degrees and have jobs and salaries and all the things that we would identify with quote unquote success and quote unquote you know, intelligence and smartness and, you know, this sort of thing, but yet they're still bought into it. They're still into it. And this leads back to the first vein, that if you are finding yourself in a position where you're witnessing someone who understood the incoherence of the logic, it's incoherent with reality, someone who knows this on a cognitive conscious level and still finds himself drawn into it, that is your indicator that what is pulling that person into that dynamic is not the coherence with the doctrine, because we know that it's incoherent. What that person is responding to is something deeper in their nervous system, in the survival mechanisms of their nervous system, because it does hijack the brain. It does, which is why we hear people contort and gymnastics and fly around in a pretzel and all that. That's why it's the survival mind that can just twist and labyrinth its way through all kinds of nonsense to survive. The point is to survive. So your daughter might not even be aware of her living in a state of fear. It might be a very subtle thing. I'm not, you know, suggesting that anyone's threatening her physical safety or any of that sort of thing, but always be vigilant. People are weird. Okay. But more importantly, it can be a very subtle thing. And something that Asheron brought up is that, yes, it is a doctrine that knows how to hijack the survival mechanisms of the nervous system, the very thing that keeps us alive as a species. This is very nefarious, okay? Because when you know how to tap into the part of the body that can hijack the rest of the body, it doesn't matter what the logic is or isn't. It's irrelevant, because you're able to puppeteer devotion regardless. And yes, they are doing this, whether they're aware of what they're doing or not. Many of them are, some of them aren't. Some of them are really bought into, they're drinking the Kool-Aid, but they have had thousands of years to evolve with the consciousness of humanity, to evolve with the way that our nervous system evolved. And so really, I will kind of lean into what I was talking to with Schley. Get into your own body, get into your own self, find those things that bring you joy, keep yourself regulated, and, you know, just think through, you are playing the long game here. I can hear it in your voice. You really care for your daughter. You love for your daughter. You're there for life. You're there for life. Since we know there are limits to what logic can provide in terms of convincing someone to change their behavior, it's finding ways to sink deeper into the nervous system programming. So the more that you are positing yourself as the safe option, the more that you are positing yourself as coherent and secure. Those messages will be conveyed even if you can't always have successful cognitive discussion about the issues of the dogma and the issues in the doctrine itself. Am I making sense here?
No, you're definitely making sense. And yeah, I needed to hear that because I've been like, I've just been acting frustrated with her. And that's probably not the best way for me to be reacting. Like I said, why would you ever agree to go to vacation Bible school? That is crazy. Like my reaction was not a safe reaction when she told me she was, I don't even know. Do people know what I'm talking about when I say vacation Bible school?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Um,
What you're talking about here.
I just thought it
Absolutely.
So
sounded
another,
insane when she told me
No.
that somebody from the church contacted her and told her she could get college credits to come volunteer for vacation Bible school. I just had a very sarcastic, my reaction was just, I know it probably wasn't what it should have been.
Yeah.
Can I say something? I just real quick, and everything that Earth just said, 1,000% yes, agree, and like my goodness, but I just can't go another second without um I just hear the pain, and I just want to acknowledge that. And I want to say to you that you're not alone in that feeling. So many of us know this feeling. I just bawled my eyes out to Tahir and Shannon last week. Um, and I do that with Crystal often as well. And for the same reasons, and your reaction to your daughter is human. And I want you to give yourself grace and understanding for that reaction. Excuse the little bit of Christianese there, but I want to say that to you because it is threatening. It is isolating when your entire world is surrounded by something that you survived and fought to get out of, and when your baby, that's your baby. So of course you would be angry. Of course you would feel threatened. That is human, and it is natural, and it is valid. And I just wanted to let you know that you're not alone in these feelings, and I don't know, just offer you support and my love because it is not an easy thing to face but you aren't running away from it. You are hearing what she's saying and you're taking it
Yeah.
on fully, and that is a big win in itself. And just you reaching out and asking for the support, and you're like, I don't know how to do this. That is just such a big win on your part, and I hope you recognize that as well. And if you ever need support, I mean, I know my DMs are always open, and I just wanted
Mine
you to
too.
hear that. And hopefully we don't always have to just wrap everything in a bow and feel warm and fuzzy and feel better about it. It's okay not to feel better. It's shitty. It fucking sucks. And I hear that, but I'm in it with you, and I know these ladies are as well.
I appreciate it. I'm
And
glad I came up. Thank you, Crystal. I love
Aaron, I want to give you another thing to look at too. Okay, I'm gonna pretend for just one moment that I'm a 17-year-old biracial girl, right? And my dad's not in my life. But there's this other part of my family that wants to be in my life, and I want them to be in my life. Now, imagine for one moment that those people are Christian. You know what they're going to do. So maybe it's just the fact that she wants to connect with them, and then being Christians, they're telling her, you want to connect? This is how we connect. And that's a lot of pressure on her. She just wants to be with her family, and this is what Christians do. It is. It's just what they do.
You're right. You're right. You're right. Um, and
And,
I'm not
and it's
angry
okay
with
to tell
her.
her,
I'm
you
not
know,
angry with her. I'm angry
I
with
know you're
my
not.
family because they know how I
You, yeah.
feel, and they know that they did this going against my wishes. But I love my mom and I love my sister and my brother, but I also try to remember that they think that I'm lost.
Right.
I try to remember that. But you know what? I just would never have overstepped that boundary by going to one of their kids the way that
Mhm.
my sister-in-law has done with my daughter.
Yeah. But,
I know.
easier said than done, but I would hearken it back to the, abusive relationship, thing, because a lot of times if somebody is in a problematic relationship, if you do depending on your reaction, you can drive them further into, this relationship with that person, depending on, how they perceive it and how the abuser uses that to their advantage. So I definitely think emphasis on the compassion, the understanding, is going to be a big key to getting through to your daughter for sure. But yeah, great job. You're doing a great job. You're a great mom. It's obvious
And
that
I'm
you love
glad
your
you came
daughter.
up too.
Yeah.
I appreciate everything everyone said because I've just been sitting here crying, making signs.
Oh,
um,
Well, first of all, thank you for going out there tomorrow for everybody. I appreciate all the
yes, thank you.
protesters. Um, and so I appreciate that. And I'm sorry she's not going with you because I think that protests can be a very bonding moment for, two
yeah, and
people.
she's
So,
gone with me to several, and I told her about it. She said okay, and I was just planning her coming, and she sent me a text and said that she wasn't going to go, and then she sent a text that said, "I'm not going tomorrow." And I replied, and I said, not the best reply in the world. I said, well, that would have been good to know because there's other people who would have liked to ride. Because I had a few people ask me, and I'm just like, my car's full. So
yeah.
I said, well, that would have been good to know because I've had other people ask for a ride. And she replied and said, I'm sorry. And that was that. Um, I didn't ask her why she changed her mind. So,
I
Yeah.
encourage you to sit with what Shley has talked about too. That was actually going to be my next point, and so I'm really glad that Shley spoke up because that validating your feelings and allowing yourself to feel the feelings so that you can integrate that and not stuff it down because it will come out later in those interactions, in the little comments, it will come out. And especially being the age that she is, she's going to pick up on that. So we are, I'm just kind of back to the point here. We're beyond the words. And now is the time to embody. What does it mean to be a safe person? What does it mean to be reliable? What does it mean to be coherent? Coherent with history, coherent with reality. And if this is something that she wants to explore because of the doctrine, then absolutely have her do what every atheist in our community has done before they became an atheist. Read it, as Crystal said, read it word for word. Do not add to it, do not take from it. You need to look at the text for what it says. And if there are elements of the fear, I know the hell fires and eternity and beyond the veil of death and those kind of existential puppeteer strings that this doctrine really pulls on, the antidote to that is embodying within your own nervous system that it is safe for me to be here. I am safe. And the more that you become that pillar, not just through the words, because as a teenager, she's got her own things going on in her head, her brain chemicals are going on, and it's not just hormones, and I'm not saying it flippantly. It's a full-time job being 17. The body is doing a lot of things, and she's already hearing a lot of words. So conveying through the nonverbal, that safety, that trust, that security, that is what will be remembered. And then I'll kind of land my plane here. A lot of encouragement that I provide to people especially when they feel that they wasted all of the best years in the room, all time wasted and wasted and wasted. The reality is that we are here now, and there are things that we will bring out from the belly of that beast. And so if it is part of her journey to make this side trail into the belly of the beast, there are going to be insights that only she can see and experiences that only she can have. But what we are seeing as the poison, what we are talking about as the hardships and the things that we don't want kids to be going through, right? That is something that she can turn into the antidote for somebody else. That is something that she can use to become the medicine for somebody else. So be in it for the long haul. Allow people to make the decisions that they need to make, but you be your own example, not always through the words and the lessons. And I know momming is like, trying to tell a fish not to swim in water. It's hard, can be hard to turn those things off. But approach her with curiosity after you take the time that you need to deal with your own emotions, to deal with your own nervous system.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate all the advice. It's really helped me feel better. And I feel like it's going to be a long summer with my daughter.
Yeah.
But
Sending love and
I
support.
don't want to see her waste all those years of her life on Christianity that I wasted. I want better for her. I don't want her feeling like she needs to find a man to marry so that she can have sex without guilt. I don't want those kinds of things for her.
And you just have to tell her that.
Yeah. So, but tomorrow I am going to a protest, and I am excited about going down there with a couple of my friends. I'm sad that my daughter is not joining us like she usually does, but those things are good for my soul. So, Crystal, thank you for letting me come up and take time. I know this is a Q&A and not what I just said.
Thank you for coming up.
But I love you, and I know you're okay with it.
I love you.
And because I know you're okay with it, it makes me feel okay. So, thank you, everyone that gave me some advice, and I definitely take that all to heart. And I'm just going to keep on keeping on with trying to do the right thing for my daughter.
Yeah. It's always a pleasure, Erin.
You're a good mom, Erin.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
And I don't know if you feel like playing with us or not, but if you want to stay up and maybe it'll, lighten the mood for you a little, we're going to play Divine or Decline. So if you want to stay up and play,
I will definitely stay for Divine or
Okay.
I love when Crystal makes up scriptures.
All right, you guys, is everybody ready for our favorite game, Divine or Decline?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, do you want me to start from the top and go down, Tahir, or start with you?
Oh, I would love that. Top to bottom. Let's do it.
Top to bottom. Okay, we're going to do that for Tahir. All right, you guys, here's how we play Divine or Decline. I'm going to read a phrase to you. If it is from the New American Standard Bible, that is the translation I use, then it is divine. If it is from the Quran, the Book of Mormon, or the Book of CrystalJae, I made it up, then it's decline. It's that simple. There's no points, there's no winners, there's no losers. As a matter of fact, we always all lose. So let's all lose together, because the Book of Mormon and the Quran stole everything from the Bible, so they all sound alike. So that's what makes this game so fun. All right, here we go, starting with number 1. So which of your Lord's marvels will you deny? Erin.
Decline.
Schley.
You said marbles?
Yeah, Marvels. Like, Marvel Universe, like Marvels.
I guess decline. That's weird.
Okay. Earth.
I'm gonna go with decline.
Okay. Tahir.
I'm gonna go with divine, not because of any confidence, but because everyone else said decline. So why not?
Okay, well, that was declined. That was from the Quran. It is Ar-Rahman 55:21. All right. And he laid his body in his own grave, and they mourned over him, saying, "Alas, my brother." Aaron.
Decline.
Schley.
Decline.
Earth. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Decline.
Okay,
Decline.
Tahir.
Yeah.
Against my contrarian nature, I'm gonna say decline.
You should have went contrary this time. I was like, I hope she does it again. That one was divine. That's 1 Kings 13:30.
Man.
Okay. Number 3. Therefore, he retained all his force to maintain those places which he had recovered. Aaron.
Decline.
Schley.
Divine.
Earth.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with, this has to be my last answer, and a work emergency has come up, but I'm gonna go with divine. I'll go with divine.
Okay. Before you answer, Tahir, you guys make sure you're following Earth Sanctuary. She is amazing, and make sure you check out the podcast called Shattered Foundations. I can't remember the full title.
Reconstructed Self.
So.
Reconstructed Self. Shattered Foundations, Reconstructed Self. It's available on YouTube at the Deconstruction Junction YouTube channel. And Earth, thank you for being here. We love you. Big W for Earth in the chat. Okay, Tahir, divine or decline?
Wait, one more time. What was it?
Therefore, he retained all his force to maintain those places which he had recovered.
Decline?
That is decline, y'all. That is Book of Mormon, Alma 59:10.
Yeah.
All right, that was a good one. Okay, next up, number 4. The high mountains are for the wild goats. The cliffs are for... I'm sorry. Let me start over. The high mountains are for the wild goats. The cliffs are a refuge for the rock badgers. Aaron.
Decline.
Schley.
Divine. I don't know.
Tahir.
I'm with Shley, no idea, but I'm going to say divine because you did decline a couple times.
Okay. Well, that was good strategy because that was divine. Yeah, rock badgers. And that is Psalms 104:18. Who knew?
Of course it is.
Then your mighty men will be dismayed, O Tenman, in order that everyone may be cut off from the mountain of Esau by slaughter. Aaron.
Decline.
Schley.
I didn't listen to that at all.
Okay, all right. I'll read it again.
Sorry.
That's okay. Then your mighty men will be dismayed, O Teman, in order that everyone may be cut off from the mountain of Esau by slaughter.
Divine.
All right, Tahir.
I'm going to go divine too.
Very good. That is Obadiah. Obadiah showing up. Obadiah chapter 1:9. I think there's only one chapter, but I still wrote one because I think there was only one. Like, I think there's only 2 pages to Obadiah, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, okay, here we go. No, indeed. It is one of their lies when they say... That's all I got. Aaron.
Decline.
Schley.
I just love it when God speaks in incomplete sentences. Divine. Decline. Decline.
Okay,
Final answer.
decline. Tahir.
It cut off too fast. One more time.
No, indeed. It is one of their lies when they say.
Decline.
That is decline. That's from the Quran. That is As-Safa 37:151. Okay, you guys. In the day, I'm sorry, I can't talk today. Let me read it again. In that day, the descendants of David will drink from the fountain as is prophesied. Aaron.
Divine.
Schley.
I think that's divine.
Tahir.
Decline.
Tahir, you're right. That's decline. That is CrystalJae. Book of CrystalJae right there.
You snick.
This is like the best I've ever done, and I'm so glad it's while I'm up here on my own, episode. Yay!
All right. And now, because of their unbelief, they could not understand the word of God, and their hearts were hardened. Aaron.
Divine.
Schley.
Divine.
Tahir.
Divine.
That one's declined. That is Book of Mormon, Mosiah 26:3.
Dang.
Okay. Take refuge in the name of the Lord, O Zion, for God will exalt you in the face of your enemies. Aaron.
Divine.
Schley.
Divine.
Tahir.
Divine.
That is declined. That's Book of CrystalJae right there.
Oh my
And
gosh. You're so good at that.
I'm befuddled.
Just throwing in some Zion and Exalt, and you got a Bible verse. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? All right, and our final one, number 10 for all the marbles. Okay, you guys, here we go. Is it time for you yourselves to dwell I did it again. Let me restart. Is it time for you yourselves to dwell in your paneled houses while the house lies desolate? Aaron.
Oh, divine.
Schley.
Decline.
Tahir.
Decline.
That was divine. That is Haggai. Because we
No.
needed to hear some Haggai. Haggai 1:4, and I think Haggai is also just one chapter. I don't know. It's not very big. But I had to pick some small books that you guys probably haven't read recently. So
Big or small, you would have got me.
Oh man.
Nico, I will write your cult book for you. I will write your holy book. I
Guys,
can do that.
no call.
Oh, no cold. Okay, no cold. So I'm sorry, I'm not allowed. Darn
Cults
it.
are bad. The future relies on us to not start cults.
Okay. I kind of wrote something. Let me see if it's on my iPad. If it's on my phone, I won't be able to read it to you. But if it's on my iPad, I might. Let's see if I still feel like reading it out loud to anybody.
Oh shoot!
You write
What is
things
it?
and you think they're. Let me see.
Just a fun little. No, there's no fun little cults. Okay, maybe a dumpling one, but don't tell
It must be on my phone. Oh, well, I might do a video of it later. It must be on my phone. But I was writing about, how we just need to start realizing we're alone. We're alone on this earth. There's no God, there's no angels, there's no devils, there's no supernatural looking out for us. And if we would start just like realizing that that is the truth and start, kind of helping each other and maybe loving each other and stop trying to look for an
Yes.
outside source to do the helping and the loving. And I was just thinking, like, just hear me out for a second here. What if we lived like that, like that there isn't a God and that we all have to do all the loving and the helping ourselves? And then just say we found out there was a God, wouldn't he be kind of cool with the fact that we still did that? That we did the
Yeah.
loving and the giving? So wouldn't he just be like, cool, y'all are welcomed into this heaven because
Mm-hmm.
you didn't believe in me, but you did all the good stuff anyway. And you didn't ask me for anything. You did it. You took care of each other.
Mm-hmm. A good and logical God would, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. So I'm just saying if we give that a shot, I think that the world would be a better place. Live believing true things, loving and helping each other. That's it. That's it. Minimize harm, maximize
Mm-hmm.
the good,
Yeah, I love it.
Yep. Me
And
too.
now I'm going to have to go listen to Al Jarreau sing Accentuate the Positive. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't listened to that
Thank you,
version, go
everybody.
listen to it.
Thank
I
you.
love you
Thank you,
guys.
everyone.
Aaron, thank you for being here.
Bye.
Slade, thank you for being here. Tahir, thank you so much for
Of
being my guest today.
course.
You and Earth
Pleasure.
are amazing. I really do love your podcast. I've listened to I think I have one episode that's newer that I haven't heard yet. But otherwise, I do listen to your podcast, and it is amazing. I really love hearing the
Thank you.
stories. I love how everybody has, not just because we're brought up believing that our relationship with God is personal. I think that when you're taught that, that's why everybody has a different idea of what God is, because you get to make it up because you were told it's personal to you, right? You know what I mean? Like, so no two people, and just be like no two people think of God the same way. All their deconstruction stories from this God are all different too.
Yes.
And they have so much to teach you through their deconstruction stories.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not listening to the podcast, you should. You guys make sure you go subscribe today. And Tahir and Earth, I hope you come back in a few months and we can chat again.
Yeah.
I love you guys.
Of
I'll
course.
see you around the mean streets of TikTok.
Love
Goodbye,
you.
TikTok. Goodbye, YouTube. Love you. Bye.
Bye.